Dito muna ako.
Good morning, friends. Good morning. May I request everyone to come a little bit forward, please? There are no borders here. You can, all seats belongs to everyone. So please come. Let's try and be as close as possible. And these couches over here are really comfortable. If you have not tried them, then please do. साथीहरु अलि अगाडि आउनुस् प्लिज। आजदेखि अलिकति हामीले रिजनल एसेम्ब्लीका कुराहरू पनि गर्नुपर्छ, त्यसको प्रक्रियाहरू पनि अलि व्याख्या गरिन्छ। त्यसले गर्दा त्यसमा साथीहरूको सहभागिता भइदियो भने एकदमै राम्रो हुन्छ। अगाडि आइदिनुहोस् न प्लिज, अलि अगाडि आएर बस्नुभएको हुन्छ। Friends from Cambodia, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Japan, please come to the front of the room. Let's have a very close-knit group and very close consultations on everything we're going to discuss here. नेपाली साथीहरु त्यहाँ बाहिर कोही हुनुहुन्छ भने अब हामी 2 मिनेटमा सुरु गर्दैछौँ। कोही हुनुहुन्छ भने अलि हतार गराइदिनु होला प्लिज। Friends, we're going to start very soon. We were chided for our lack of timekeeping yesterday. We'll prove all our criticizes wrong by keeping up the time really well today. साथीहरु कृपया अगाडि आइदिनु होला है। We can change our seats every day, in fact. You don't have to be in the same seat as us. And these couches over here are for VIPs. I mean, they're for you, so please. It's for you, it's for everyone. Please, so why are they left vacant? The Thailand group, the Japan group, please come to the front. साथीहरु कार्यक्रममा सहभागी हुँदाखेरि भाषाले तगारो नहालोस् है। यहाँलाई यदि हुन त अफिसियली यहाँ ट्रान्सलेटरमा नेपाली भाषा ट्रान्सलेट गर्न सक्ने हुनुहुन्न, तर हामी यहाँ धेरैजना छौँ जो दोभाषीको काम गर्न सक्छौँ। त्यसो हुनाले बिचमा प्रश्न सोध्न मन लाग्यो, नेपालीमै सोध्न मन लाग्यो भने पनि एकदमै खुसी साथ सोध्नुभयो। कुनै कुरा राख्न मन लाग्यो भने हात उठाएर नेपालीमै राख्न सक्नुहुन्छ। म लगायत अरू साथीहरू जसले जोसँग समय छ उहाँहरूले अवश्य सहयोग गर्नुहुनेछ। I think, friends, I was just saying to my Nepali friends that although our formal translation of the proceedings is limited to only a few languages, please feel free to speak in your own language. There will be somebody in the room who can translate. So if Nepalis speak in Nepali, we can definitely translate if you wish to. If our friends from Myanmar wish to speak in Myanmarese language, I'm sure there is somebody there in the team. There is actually a designated translator who can do that. So please feel free to intervene. Likewise, friends from Bangladesh, please speak in Bangla. We want to hear the languages, and we are all about local dialects and languages. Of course, please, in this conference, don't speak some remote dialect, it might get lost. That's all, but otherwise, please use your own languages. That's most welcome. Yes, there will be music to the room, I think. Yes. I just have a couple of house announcements to be made here before I hand over the microphone to the moderator of the next session, and we're looking forward to a very interesting day today. In fact, to start with, we have a wonderful speaker with us who's going to deliver a keynote address and will hopefully also offer us a chance to interact with the room here. But before I do that, hand over the microphone to the next speaker and the moderator, I'd just like to say that on the tables over there, there are two kinds of forms that you need to be aware of. One is the Regional Board of Directors Candidate Nomination Form. This is the candidate nomination form, and there is a deadline by when you must submit this. Oh, it's here, sorry. It's tomorrow, 18th November, by 1 o'clock. This has to be handed over to the election committee chairperson, who will be identified during the course of the day today. And that person will be introduced to you, and you will need to, if you are interested in nominating somebody yourself, in seconding somebody, taking part in the election as a candidate, then this is the form that you need to have. So, and those forms are available over there. If they are not, then please ask me and I'll help you differently. साथीहरु यो कुरा क्लियर छ है हाम्रो पर्सि साधारण सभाको बेलामा चुनाव हुन्छ चुनावको लागि क्यान्डिडेट नोमिनेट गर्ने डेडलाइन भोलि 1 बजेसम्म मात्रै हो यो जुन फारम छ यो त्यहाँ उपलब्ध छ टेबलमा र यदि इच्छुक हुनुहुन्छ भने यो फारम लिएर यसलाई भरेर हामीले इलेक्सन कमिटीको एउटा चेयरपर्सन तोक्ने छौं उनलाई दिनु होला त्यो चेयरपर्सन को हो भन्ने कुरा आज दिनभरिमा हामी परिचय गर्छौं The next one is about proxy votes. If you have some proxy votes to use in the assembly, then those forms are also over there. But we made those forms available in our website. I don't think there have been any downloads. I don't know if you can manage to get the proxies between now and tomorrow, you can still use them. And electronic signatures are accepted. Proxy votes are for voting on behalf of active members who are not personally present here. So those who have the permission to use their votes can use it by using the proxy form. The proxy form is basically a form that approves you to represent the active voting member to vote on issues over there. A very important third announcement that I wish to make is that we are trying to compile, we've done this in the past and we'd like to renew it. We try to put together a directory of WIN members, a directory of women working in community radios across Asia Pacific. And there is a 2-page form which is also available there. Please take it, please take this form. All men and women, please take this form and please fill this out. You can fill it on behalf of your colleagues, or you can take it back, fill up this form, take a photograph, and send it to the email address that's given here. साथीहरु यो जुन महिला अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय सञ्जाल छ विन त्यसको फर्म त्यहाँ उपलब्ध छ त्यो कृपया लिदिनु होला आफ्ना रेडियोका साथीहरुका बिहाफमा पनि भर्दिन सक्नुहुन्छ या यो फर्म लिएर गएर यसलाई पछि फोटो खिचेर या स्क्यान गरेर कुनै किसिमले यसलाई यहाँ तोकिएको इमेल एड्रेसमा पठाइदिन सक्नुहुन्छ I really request you to do that. I think we would really like to see that everybody is included in that directory. That directory is going to be a great networking tool for all of us. So please take care to take a form like this. So with those announcements, I will now, without taking further time, we are already 7 minutes behind schedule. I'm going to request my colleague Sheeta Lakshmi to come and introduce the next speaker of the session. So the mic is yours, Sheeta Lakshmi. Please welcome Sheeta Lakshmi.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you had a good sleep and also you enjoyed dinner last night. And I hope today you can enjoy Yogyakarta more because I heard that there are several people who will also have a field visit. Without further ado, I would like to start this keynote speech. A bit of reflection. Yesterday, we discussed about radicalism, intolerance in community radio, and how community radio stations can have a role in that. Yesterday also, the Ministry of Communication and Informatics also challenged us how to make community radio stay relevant, through which media, what kind of content that we have to provide to the community that we are representing today. This also goes to my conversation with Suman about if you are saying that you are community radio, what kind of community that you are representing actually, yeah? Whether you have reflected the diversity of your community and whether your programs also have reflected from the diversity of your community as well. So those are the issues that we would like to discuss here. It's a very pleasure for me to moderate a very distinguished panel. Mr. Sunil Babu Pan. Sunil Babu is the first openly gay politician in Nepal and member of parliament in 2008 and 2012. He founded Blue Diamond Society in 2001 and led the organizations until 2013. Moreover, at the meeting for the historic adoption of the Yogyakarta Principles held in November 2006, he was one of the 29 experts. He filed a petition against the government of Nepal in Supreme Court and won the case in December 2007 that legalized diverse sexual and gender identities. I will invite Mr. Sunil to come here. Give a round of applause for him. So he will speak around perhaps 10 or 12 minutes because we don't want this to be a monologue. We would like this to be a dialogue so you can also have conversation with him afterwards.
Thank you, Sheeta Lakshmi, for your extremely generous introduction. Good morning, everyone. It's lovely to be here. This is my second time in Yogyakarta. First time I came here, as you mentioned earlier, for the Yogyakarta Principle. We wrote the Yogyakarta Principle in 2006, sometime around November, and then we created a history because the Yogyakarta Principle became the first document or instrument that is widely accepted, which translate the international human rights mechanisms, treaty bodies, and accepted human rights throughout the world. Also incorporate LGBTI rights. So I encourage you to search Google and then go through the Yogyakarta Principles if you want to know more about what are the rights of the LGBT communities are really demanding for. Now, for this session, I would like to share as this is for the community radios, I would like to share my own experiences going through with the media in Nepal, working from 2001 until now. The first experience I had with the media, because Blue Diamond Society founded in 2001 when we were working on human rights, but also sexual health. So we decided we needed a proper consultation. So in 2002, we held a national consultation meeting inviting LGBTIQ people from across Nepal, and we also invited very couple of media personalities, because not very many, I think except me, nobody was open to even to their families. So we invited a very selected media, only 2 media. There were 1 female and 1 photographer who was male coming. And then they were also very amused to see so many transgender gays and lesbians in one room like this. We have around 100 participants. And then, through the day, they clicked a lot of pictures. But a lot of transgenders, gays and lesbians tried to, avoid the camera, fearing that they may be somewhere printed out into the media next day. So, but it was difficult to avoid because they had to, engage into the consultation. So, a couple of transgender decided to group up and then, approach that media, the photographer, and ask that, you cannot print our photo without showing our face clearly, because we will be sure to be thrown out of home. We'll be homeless. If you do that, you must marry us and then take you home. So he got really, puzzled, because he never thought that would be the reaction. Because he was, coming with a good heart, good faith that, printing this closeted issue or, hidden issue and bringing out forth would help. So the reaction was very different. No one wanted to be, photographed. And then even now they have such a, perceived consequences if the photo was printed out. So they were in dilemma. So they did the story and they changed all the name and didn't publish any photograph for the sensitivity, being really concerned to the community. So there was, I think, lesson learned for us and for those 2 media personalities that day. But ultimately, once you work together, interact, and be a bit more sensitive, there's some positive outcomes coming out from that. And then the next one was in 2003, there was government media called Yogyakarta. Without talking to us, there was big headlines, really derogatory headlines saying Hijuras have opened some kind of organization to pollute the society with Western interests, or something like that in Nepali language. So we didn't know who wrote within that government media outlet, so we decided just to stay quiet, because it was an emergency time. It was too much of risk trying to confront that media. But was quite could have been quite damaging. Then the another experience, I think major one, was with when we had this 2007. I took the government to the court, and then by end of December 2007, we won the case. The court said LGBTI people are natural, because one of the arguments was LGBTI people are unnatural. They behave unnaturally. So the court said natural, and then issued a directive order asking the government to recognize third gender category, and Nepal became the first country in the world to defy the binary gender system and recognize third gender. Then it also said, scrap all the discriminatory laws, change all the discriminatory laws against LGBTI, and either amend or introduce new laws so that LGBTI rights can be protected. So that were fantastic decisions. But when I see media reaction, that time, it was the major headlines for the international media like BBC, CNN, and other English media outside. But it barely made any news in Nepal. Whereas in the contrast, if I see now how much it has evolved, the recent Supreme Court decision in India, it just dominated the whole mainstream media or every media in India and taking a prime time and headlines, etc. So it has evolved. but then was no issue for Nepal. I think Kathmandu Post did good coverage on the lower part of the front page, but only in English language. The same, newspaper Kantipur in Nepali didn't even bother to print it. So you can see, the media somehow, I think, in Nepal believe that it's not a story, or it's not interesting for the Nepali audience. So that kind of mindset, I think, it's quite concerning for us. That whatever we do, we never make the headlines. There's so many other big achievements in Nepal happen, but rarely makes any headlines, or even people or media bothers to report it. For example, the next year I got elected into the parliament as the first openly gay member of parliament, and people say that I was the first in whole Asia. And New York Times did a huge, headline, in the front page. But well, I didn't want the whole front page in every media in Nepal, but at least because of not as a person, but as an issue, it should have been covered in the Nepalese press as well. But there were other news like, similarly other minorities getting elected for the first time, got some space. There was a lot of indigenous people also, more represented, got coverage and all these things. But this LGBT issue, whatever it is, whether it's a good progress or facing challenges, hardly makes any news. So that kind of, I don't know what goes into the media's mind when they decide what is the news and what is not. What should be on the front page, what should be on the back page. So usually when we see day-to-day basis, we don't need to be every day on the front page, but when major thing happens, whether it's achievement or there's extreme kind of challenges, things, either there's no news, or if we make any media decided to do it, especially in print media, there's a society or social page which is somewhere in the back of the newspaper. Hardly any people have the patience to read it, so it gets down to there. It doesn't make really the headlines. So that kind of media experiences I had. But then in end of 2011, sometime 2011, we were making good progress into the first Constituent Assembly, and there was two media decided to attack on the LGBTI rights, but taking me personally because they see me as the face of the LGBTI movement in Nepal. So one particular tabloid kind of television channel without base, charged me and corruption, and then for 10 months long, every prime time in the evening, every weekly show was against me. So you can imagine, if there was a proof that TV channel 1 or 2 times they can show and then give the evidence to the authorities. But went on for 10 months and quite damaging, even though it was not very popular media, but people started getting to know, and then was quite traumatic and quite difficult later. And even for me personally, it would become very difficult to walk in the street because people thought I was very corrupt. Then it went to, we later realized the media channel and the district office took the charge, and somebody from the media channel linked, who also somehow infiltrated into the organization, filed the case as to the chief district office. So the chief district office didn't renew the Good Army Society's license for 9 months, and without renewing license, you will not be able to function, you don't get any funding, so we have a lot of HIV affected people need treatments, there's human rights programs going on, and the salary of the staffs who only surviving on this organization was everything halt. So I couldn't take it further too long, and then I took the chief district officer to the district court, but district court and chief district office worked very closely. So the media still continue, fueling that negative. Just two media, one print media, tabloid media, and one TV channel. The district court keep postponing that, hearing. So it just gone long. So I had to just give up the hope and took back the case against the chief district officer who were investigating Blue Diamond Society. They couldn't find anything, but not renewing. And then ultimately, because I was the member of parliament and also working into the Blue Diamond Society, which was not illegal at that time. And they said, it's not illegal, but on moral ground, you can't take, benefits from both organizations. You must return one. So, so I returned to the parliament's salary because I couldn't go through the courts, and then the chief district officer said, no, I didn't say you return to the parliament salary. You return to the Blue Diamond Society salary. So there was nobody supporting, it was a lone fight, and then media still continued, so I had to return both salaries at the end. And then, so you sometimes question what happens to the justice system, where are these media and things, And then a lot of media friends I had, they said, oh, once the court gives you proof, then we'll support you. And the other parliament also said, you have charged corruption, we know you're good, you are, thing, but once we need something, authority giving you clearance. And then the authority, the court do not listen, do not hear the case. So that's what happened, simple media who can be against, and then you lose everybody else because they know the cynical charges they can bring. So sometimes, a lot of medias are very friendly, but they fail to act when we need the most support. And then I told them that, you cannot, you can avoid me, you don't need to support me personally. And then in my case, I'm ready to face the charges into the court. But why this officer, not renewing organization? So they should really support that because the whole communities are suffering. But, as I said, it's probably not the priority, or not getting into the details of things, or not having a deep understanding of the sympathy. So the value of the as a community front of media is very different from one community to other community. It depends on who is, what backgrounds, what much knowledge they have, the media has, and also what understanding they have about these communities. If similar thing happened, I know that civil charges been brought against another powerful, good civil society activist in Nepal, both Mandira and Kanak Dixit. There's a whole rally for support them from the locals and the international as well. But we didn't see when the LGBT community faced exactly similar challenges, that kind of support. They just remained and had a good excuses. Okay, yeah, we know you're good, but we need something from the court. And court never gives, never even ready to hear. So this kind of thing happened. But having said that, I find, at least, except those two media, other medias were supportive. They choose most of the time to remain silent, but when they do positive stories. So I must thank a lot of Nepalese media. I wish they become more evolved and understand the value of giving a space. So when media talks about accuracy, credibility, and balance, so accuracy, credibility, it's very easy to define. Finding a balanced thing, it's quite difficult, and you try to quantify easily, which is not the case. You need to look at even quantifying how much stories you have done on LGBT is one thing. The second thing is a very qualitative thing. where this community stands as a power in the spectrum of power dynamics. And then you try to raise this issue, and then you always bring, I find very amusing that the very powerful autocratic powers be giving the same space, same arguments like hugely powerful, wealthy religious leaders. They have all the media outlets as well, and then a lot of influence. And then there's a tiny community trying to raise their voice. For the sake of saying balance, you give the same weight, same space, whereas the balance was already never there. We suffered for hundreds and hundreds of years of discrimination and disempowerment. So you need to critically look at the aspect of being balanced when you try to do the stories or news. So these are some of the things I have to say about media, and then I'm glad that throughout the world there are progress, a lot of progress happening. More media are understanding, even with the terminologies now. I had the experience of in Nepal. When they sometimes they write about me and then they say, oh, Sunil Pant, third gender, and then there's a transgender activist Bhumika, and sometimes they say transgender is a gay. Bhumika is gay kind of thing. So little bit, more taking the technical things, knowledge about that's still a gap. But the biggest gap is the silence, I think. You want to be positive, but you're not bothered to go further because either you lack the information, or you lack some of the knowledge, or you don't want to be challenged, just to be supported, because you will face challenge as well. As I said yesterday, we have friends, a couple of good friends who stop being friends because they're, after doing a couple of stories, good stories in about LGBT media, their colleagues started mocking them. Have you joined Blue Diamond Society as well? Are you their member? It's just very discouraging. So you need to learn how to be supportive, and if other journalists are being supported too, you need to encourage them, not to mock, not to joke about them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Give a round of applause. So I think because we laid 7 minutes, so we can have another 7 minutes, Suman, if I may. So if there is any comments or remark from the audience, I would like to take one or two. That one's over there, and two Ashish. Please, the microphone. Okay, 3, but very short. Can you please come up, sir? Yeah, you can go here.
Good morning. Me Deepak Acharya from Nepal. Our formal constitution member say that media of Nepal is basically focused on political issue, gender issue, and gender inclusion, social inclusion is the minimum priority in our media. But Community Radio of Nepal is focused on gender equality and social inclusion in every sector of the Nepal. We are starting from Akura also. Akura make gender policy and implement to their organization. 45 radio are now making the gender policy, and they are going to implement. And nowadays, we are increasing the women radio journalists in Nepal. You can analyze the study, media study. In print media, there are just 19% women, and in community radio, there are 47 women. And every radio are focusing the gender issue, and that Blue Diamond Society Sunil, former president, I think, he also know that we have done many campaign for the society member also. We help them campaign also. So community radio are doing more than other media and mainstream media. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So you really giving voice to the voices. Let me give the microphone to Asis. And after that, to me.
Thanks. In a sense, I'm Ashish over here. Ashish sent from India. It's a follow-up from what Deepak said, and I just like to preface this before by really thanking Sunil. Sunil, you've highlighted this very, very important issue. I think how do we break this gap in the silence of media? And I think Sunil's presentation really highlighted a very important point, because he was talking about the gap, the silence in mainstream media. And yes, not just for sexual minorities and LGBTQI issues, but across the board. I think, therefore, we need to look at what can community media do, whether it is community radio or community-based theatre or community television, but community media as a whole. What we have found in India is that, again, the kind of reportage that comes out in mainstream media about sexual minorities addresses a point that you made, that yes, there has been increased coverage, but it's not just increased coverage. It's not just increased reportage that we're talking about. It's the kind of coverage and the kind of perception that emerges through such coverage. So when you talked about that qualitative perception, there's a very central point to that, Deepak, also, that community media needs to bear in mind. That it's not just having increased representation, but the kind of quality of that representation. Are we just talking about giving more coverage? Or is our role more than that, to actually look at building media as a lifeline for these communities, for appropriate representation? And I think in India what we have found is, like for instance the radio station that I was mentioning yesterday, Radioactive, has been doing a lot of very active work, not just in terms of covering LGBTQI issues, but also through this coverage, influencing the kind of reportage that is coming about in mainstream media. So it's an interesting space where community media can also impact mainstream media and to bring about a positive portrayal in these issues. That's my submission. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Asis. Now to Yogyakarta. Next to you, Asis.
Terima kasih, saya lihat di Sumatera Barat. Tadi saya mencatat satu catatan penting ketika dia memperjuangkan haknya di pengadilan. Nah, saya ingin tahu apakah sudah ada undang-undang di negara Anda untuk pengaturan tentang LGBT. Mungkin itu yang saya tanyakan. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih, Ian.
Thank you very much for this very generous, remarkable, and enlightening comments and observations. Deepakji and Asis, yes, my observation earlier was talking about generally media. I know from my own experience the community media, particularly community radios in Nepal, are much more evolved compared to the mainstream of the media. Having said that, how we, report LGBTI issues, I'd like to share a similar experience we had, because there's a National Human Rights Commission was recently launched in Nepal in early 2000, and then, they refused to take up the, cases of violence against LGBTI. Because they didn't have, first they didn't consider LGBT as male and female, and they didn't have in the form. So there was the excuse they always give. So we only take a report because this is our mandate, only for the men and women. But we are in this citizen, and some of us are also men, some of us are also women. not all LGBT are third genders. But it took a while, and then there were hesitation, and they say, oh, we need a policy decision, go to the government. Government says no. National Human Rights Commission is independent, from us. They can make their own, come up with their own policies, and if there are human rights violation happenings in anybody, they should be able to take it on. So there was we feel that it was hesitation within the National Human Rights Commission, because they didn't understand, or there may be some elements who were against LGBTI who are working, or commissioners who are appointed to the National Human Rights Commission. So we decided to take a different route to educate them. So we said, what about we send intern for 1 year or 2 years? You don't have to bear any expenses. We give them transportation and we pay their expenses, etc. But just let them and help you organize this and anywhere you can put them. So they find the most intriguing role for that trans man that we sent to the Human Rights Commission. That was unboxing their old files and then making it tidy. So that was the role for the intern. They come up with, which was interesting, we thought, but that's the way. And at least we had some entry points there. So within the 3 months, that trans man, having involved, they talked and started realizing that these are also human. They also have same emotions. They also want to be happy like anybody else. And they cry when there's a sad thing happens like us. They laugh when they have some happinesses. And they have aspirations, they want to love, and all those things, human emotions and intelligence and everything is there. So after 3 months of that entrance, they decided to change their form without much effort. So that was the remarkable achievement, how short time it takes once you involve, once you have human connections, human contact. So since then, they changed the form, and then it's one of the prominent allies in force. And any even major or minor incident happens of human rights abuses, National Human Rights Commission is there to come out and stand with us. So similar thing, I would encourage, have someone from the community within your community radios as an intern or a trainee or something, and then it will be beneficial for both sides. You will get to see the human side of our, the challenges we see as a human, not as a compartment, within this human index, but you will understand, you will realize us as a human. So that's the start point I would like to suggest and encourage you to go and involve them. Whatever, wherever you can. If you find somebody educated, if you have a vacancy, and there are a lot of qualified LGBTI, hire them, give them priority. Or if you cannot, and then if you don't find any qualified, give them as a trainee, and then give them job as well, because there are a lot of LGBTI who find very difficult to get job. The second thing is, community radios are probably within the local communities or particular communities based on gender, caste, creed, or religion or other thing. And there may be some kind of myth that, LGBTI are outside of all this, but we are everywhere, So look within your community and then try to find the stories of persons, the individuals, whether within Dalit who are there, Dalit LGBTI, within Muslim minorities who are Muslim minorities, or other religious minorities who are LGBTI within them, within Dalit communities who are there LGBTI, but that is probably even more complex and complicated, or even more difficult stories you find which needs a voice, because you are voice of the voiceless. Just to respond to the last question, there are policies for, after the Supreme Court, yes, there are policies. Now government issue a passport, an ID card for third gender. You can opt for that, third gender identity within you when you apply for the passport and identity card without having to go through any medical or psychological process or anything. So it's a free will, which is much more liberal than some of the Europeans and others have. So there's something to learn from Nepal from everybody. I think that's something that we and then there are a couple of articles into the new constitution, which was promulgated in 2015, that guarantees protection and equality, and even mention about special, development program from the government to this community. But that has still remained to implement and hasn't been translated into the law. And I would encourage all the Nepalese media to go and push for the government and ask the government what happened to this constitutional rights of LGBT that is guaranteed by constitution. Why it has not been translated into the laws and programs and policies. Thank you very much.
Well, I hope the conversation will continue, and I really like the way you mentioned about human as human, not human with compartment. And I think voice for the voiceless is where we are. We should feel that role. Without further ado, I give it back to Suman and to Nini for the next session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shita. Thank you so much for conducting that session so well. And most of all, thank you very much. I think a big round of applause once again to our speaker, Sunil Raghupal. I think I really feel gratified that he would be with us here. I think as a network, as an organization, I think this is a very proud moment for all of us to have him speak to us. And I think personally, again, I think it's something that it's something that I take for introspection. I think we're asking a lot of questions to ourselves as community broadcasters, as a network, and as Shita started by saying, how community are we really? How inclusive are we really? And I think those are the yardsticks by which we need to measure ourselves. And a lot of good moves have been made, but it's clear that's not enough, and a lot more needs to be done. So thank you very much to Sunil Raghupal once again for speaking to us. Now with that, I would like to request the moderator of the next panel, Nimi Chauhan, the Asia Pacific representative of Women's International Network, to please come on stage. The next panel is equally challenging and interesting. It's called Challenging Patriarchy and Gender Relationships. And I'm really looking forward to the discussion on this panel and to learn from this panel. May I now invite the panelists to please also come on stage. Al Farida of JRKI, Indonesia, to please be with us on the stage. Meena Gurun, Community Radio Marsyandi, a very well-known community radio broadcaster, and a very courageous woman, I know her personally. It's great to have her with us. Meena ji, please come on the stage. Anna Minj, as we lovingly call her, Anna D, is the president of BCRA, the Bangladesh Community Radio Association. Welcome on stage. Mary Carlin from Radio Sakara. Our own very much, Mary Carlin, please. And Professor Dr. Chalisa, please join the panel on stage. I wish you the best, and over to you. So we need to wrap up at 11 o'clock. So please kindly bear that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, a very warm welcome to everyone on this new topic that we are talking about today. Somehow the previous session actually was, it is a continuation of that session in a way. Because we are talking not only about gender, when we talk about gender, we also talk about gender identities and the intersectionality of the gender. So it is like when we talk about gender, we don't say we're talking about women only. We are talking about women, but women who are caste-based, so that Dalit women, we are talking about LGBTQI women, we are talking about the minority women. So it involves all sections of society. So it is not a homogeneous group when we say it's only women. but gender also kind of includes men in the whole thing, in all its intersectionality. So just wanted to kind of lay that out in the very beginning. Let me very quickly, we have this excellent panel over here, and they have, between them, I think, years and years of experience of working in community radio in the field as such. So the topic today we are discussing today is challenging patriarchy and gender stereotypes. And as we heard in the previous case as well, it is the patriarchy is the all, it's everywhere. In every aspect of our life is governed by the sex of the society, which is the roles and the responsibilities being divided based on our gender. And that in a kind of way limits, and we somehow kind of tend to perpetrate that stereotypes. And that is true for both men and women. So I'm sure all of you in the panel must have been working towards programs in their radio stations or other activities, maybe even off the radio stations, where they have talked about challenging these stereotypes to try and achieve at what we call a just and a human society, which is equal for all. And so we're talking about it from the equality perspective. Let me just very quickly, before I pass it on to my panelists and request them to kind of introduce themselves, may I just also kind of lay out a few things which I had in my mind, which you can always add on to and talk about, is that the one issue that has come up is there is a kind of a silence or invisibility around the issues of gender, which has already been brought out by the previous session. So thank you for bringing that out, because that is precisely also one of the key issues that we face. The foregrounding that we need to do here is we look at, I want to refer to section J of the Beijing Platform for Action, which has talked about media, particularly about women's access to media, and as well as about the content on media, which brings in the gender component, so that it is a positive portrayal and challenging of stereotypes, so that we are talking about towards a more human and just society. So in this context, maybe it's time. It happened that Beijing conference happened in 1995. It's been, I think, more than almost 30 years now. And it is time to relook at where we stand today. So maybe this is the right opportunity, because when we talk about media, the global media monitoring projects will happen. They do not include a community media as such. So maybe it's time if we start also taking that responsibility. And as AMARC Asia Pacific, definitely, let's look forward to kind of bringing that component, so that in the media projects we also bring in the community media. And I think maybe, that will reveal that we have progressed much more than what we believe. But let's have the experiences from the panel itself. So may I request the panelists to introduce themselves, I think, because they will kind of talk about their project and context themselves in the work that they've been doing. So, let's start with you.
Terima kasih. Nama saya Farida. Yes, my name is Farida from Indonesia. I'm using bahasa Indonesia. Nama saya Farida. Saya dari JRKI, Jaringan Radio Komunitas Indonesia. Di JRKI saya sekarang sedang melakukan divisi pengembangan kapasitas building. Dalam konteks pengaruh utamaan gender, kami di JRKI saat ini memang sedang menggemborkan atau menggaungkan program yang kita sebut namanya 3On for 3M. 3On ini adalah strategi kami radio komunitas dalam menjawab persoalan-persoalan di komunitas. 3On adalah on air, online, and on land, on ground. Dan sementara 3N adalah 3 persoalan utama yang sedang terjadi di Indonesia, yaitu kekerasan terhadap perempuan dan anak, kemudian ya itu yang sedang kita. JRKI sedang berupaya untuk membuat bagaimana akses teman-teman perempuan khususnya di dalam radio komunitas itu bisa menjadi lebih baik. Karena kita mendapati dari beberapa proses yang sudah kita lakukan di tingkat radio komunitas itu sebenarnya banyak perempuan yang aktif di sana. Bahkan beberapa ada cukup banyak perempuan yang menjadi top leader di radio komunitas yang ada di Indonesia, yang paling banyak terutama di Jawa Barat dan di Jawa Timur. Tetapi tadi itu mungkin ya sedikit pengantar saja. Terima kasih.
Thank you. I look forward to hearing more examples from you.
Thank you and good morning. This is Anna Mint. I'm from Bangladesh. I'm also chair for Bangladesh Community Radio Association. At the same time, I am also working with BRAC, the largest development organization in the world. I am working there as one of the program directors, and I manage 3 programs. One is community empowerment, gender justice, diversity, and integrated development program. Along with that, BRAC has also one community radio. We call it Only Control, and it is also under one of my department, community empowerment. And at the moment, I am also convener for Girls Not Bride Bangladesh chapter, and also engaging men and boys network Bangladesh Alliance. And I will talk later on about what we do and what is our experiences around gender equality.
Thank you. Namaste and good morning everybody, and my name is Meena Guru. I am here from Nepal, and professionally I am working as a station manager of Community Radio Marsangdi, which is located in the western part of Nepal. And here I am representing all the ladies, women, and in our country, among 325 radios, only nearly 8 radios are leading by women, and in the context of Nepal, there are only 40% women in board or working as a journalist representing in the media field. And in our radio, in the context of Nepali radio and community radio, we are addressing, we are giving space to gender, raising issues about child marriage, child abuse, and women gender violence, and we are giving space to those community ethnic group, and especially women and children in our community radio. And here I will share more about our content and our issues in this forum after some time.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. My name is Charissa Mahanthal. I am an independent scholar from Thailand. I used to help Pattani community radio station in the south of Thailand as their consultant, start up the group. First from the group, share idea of what community radio is. That was about in 1998. It was very new idea to our nation. And then from my experience, I found that female Muslim tend not to want to take a leader role, even though they qualify for that. That was not new to me because at the same time, back then I was also the director of the university radio station, and so have some difficulty to make myself connect with male group. Okay, and later on I was assigned as the director of the URDL, which is also a university radio station in Ashland, Ohio, and this is in the US. So that is the main thing that I would like to share with you for now. And then as a scholar, I think I might have some idea to share how to solve this problem and how to evaluate it, at least from my personal experience and my observation, and also some literature. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Mary Carlin, station manager of Radio Sagada in the Cordillera, Northern Philippines. We have at least 80% of women in the radio organization. This includes in the organizational structure, in the board, in the General Assembly, and among volunteers. So we take particular attention. We give particular attention to gender relations and issues of patriarchy and women. And for this session, I would like to share some concrete experiences on how the radio, in partnership with women organizations in the community, can bring about new forms of justice and achieve a certain level of victory for women as we struggle for the bigger problem of patriarchy.
Thank you, panelists. I think what we've just heard is an excellent amount of experiences and different kinds of, from 80% participation in community radio for women to in Nepal they are trying to bring more and more women into the community radio sector. I think that is, in terms of number, we see quite a wide range of actions being taken. May I just start now with requesting the panelists to kind of take up the first question. I'd like to put to them. The first question I would like to ask you would be that, what do you think are the one or two key issues of gender atrocities against women in your community or in your country particularly? Because though we talk about gender as a vast issue, it covers a vast spectrum, but specific countries and communities may have very specific direct issues that are related to those, and they may not cover the entire gamut, but one or two. So may I just request you to start with one or two such cases that you would like to say, this is some key areas of concern for you when it comes to the abuse or the atrocities faced by women, particularly across in your radio station or in your country. May I?
Ya, tentang persoalan yang terkait isu gender, saya kira di Indonesia ada 3 isu utama yang ini menjadi persoalan yang masih concern kita. Ini banyak terjadi di hampir seluruh wilayah di Indonesia, juga di lokal-lokal di mana di sekitar ada komunitas. Yang pertama adalah angka kekerasan terhadap perempuan dan anak di Indonesia masih sangat tinggi. Jadi misalnya kalau dari data Komnas Perempuan, masih ada tahun 2017 ada 384.446 kasus kekerasan terhadap perempuan, yang itu juga belum ada banyak yang ini basicnya masih banyak kekerasan terjadi di ranah domestik dan seksual. Ada banyak kekerasan seksual juga terjadi di sini. Kemudian yang kedua, isu kedua adalah human trafficking. Ada seperti kita tahu ada banyak penduduk Indonesia yang bekerja di luar negeri. Ini mungkin kira-kira lebih dari 4,5 juta penduduk Indonesia yang bekerja di luar negeri, dan kebanyakan 1,9 juta itu adalah perempuan, dan mereka banyak sekali mengalami kekerasan dan tidak mendapatkan perlindungan, sehingga banyak sekali terjadi kekerasan, kematian dan sebagainya, yang ini masih menjadi concern besar di negara kita. Selain migrasi ke luar negeri, ada juga kasus-kasus seperti kalian tahu, Indonesia adalah negara yang terdiri dari banyak sekali pulau dan lautan, yang dimana banyak tenaga kerja kita, terutama juga perempuan, itu juga melakukan atau mengalami migrasi ke daerah-daerah lain, ke provinsi lain, dari desa ke kota, dari provinsi satu ke provinsi yang lain, dari pulau satu ke pulau yang lain. Jadi di dalam konteks ini juga banyak sekali persoalan-persoalan yang basicnya saya kira kalau dalam konteks radio komunitas, dalam konteks informasi ini dikarenakan juga salah satunya adalah karena minimnya informasi yang diterima oleh masyarakat, terutama perempuan, terkait dengan persoalan pekerjaan, kemudian hak-hak mereka dan sebagainya, ini masih sangat minim. Jadi keterbukaan informasi menjadi sangat penting untuk menjadi concern kita. Kemudian yang ketiga, persoalan ketiga adalah yang paling utama adalah kesenjangan akses ekonomi bagi perempuan. Seperti kita tahu, kemiskinan kalau kita ngomong angka kemiskinan di seluruh dunia, saya kira di semua negara ya, di negara-negara kalian juga, itu saya kira kemiskinan inilah menjadi salah satu penyebab terjadinya banyak persoalan-persoalan lain. Misalnya di Indonesia masih banyak di wilayah kerja masih banyak double burden yang dialami oleh perempuan, sehingga ketika perempuan bekerja di rumah tetapi dia masih dibebani banyak pekerjaan di dalam rumah tangga, yang ini mengakibatkan persaingan di dunia kerja mereka juga agak sulit mengejarnya. Ini juga saya kira terjadi di termasuk di dalam konteks radio komunitas. Saya kira dalam konteks radio komunitas ada banyak, dalam faktanya sebenarnya banyak teman-teman di radio komunitas yang banyak bekerja dengan yang teman-teman perempuan bekerja di sana. Tetapi upaya-upaya untuk melakukan akses untuk mendapatkan skill yang lebih baik, pengetahuan yang lebih baik yang terkait dengan pekerjaannya itu juga masih sangat minim. Termasuk, jadi kemiskinan ini sebenarnya mempengaruhi banyak hal, termasuk mempengaruhi dua isu yang pertama tadi ya, kekerasan dan human trafficking. Ini basicnya juga dari kemiskinan ini, kemiskinan struktural. Saya kira itu. Jadi kalau misalnya di dalam dunia kerja mungkin partisipasi perempuan secara ini masih kalah dibanding laki-laki, masih 20% lebih rendah dibanding laki-laki. Itu bukan karena perempuan tidak mampu sebenarnya, tetapi karena perempuan kurang difasilitasi, kurang mendapat fasilitas di tempat kerja untuk bisa maksimal dalam bekerja. Misalnya ketika dia membawa anak, apakah ada tempat penitipan untuk anaknya dan sebagainya, itu belum di banyak tempat memang belum teratasi, belum di cover. Oke, saya kira itu ya 3 persoalan utama di Indonesia, dan ini juga menjadi persoalan di hampir seluruh komunitas. Ada banyak di komunitas di desa di mana radio komunitas ada.
Thank you, Farida. Yeah. So I think what she's foregrounded is that the poverty is the main reason for the human trafficking and the domestic abuse that women and children face at homes, and also talking about the access to economic. And I think what she mentioned here, and I think we should link, is that the women have access to. I mean, they do a job, they go and earn money, but what remains invisible is the contribution that they make at home. So they're actually doing a double job. One is without pay and one is with pay. That somehow kind of restricts them into moving and working more towards a career because they are kind of bound by also the other responsibility at home. Thank you, Farida. May I just request you to conclude?
Yeah, if I lay down the atrocities or abuses against women in our country, if we look into our country context, I'm from Bangladesh, so you maybe have heard Bangladesh has made significant progresses in regard to Millennium Development Goal. Bangladesh has made, our maternal mortality has gone down, enrollment in education has gone up, and also our per capita income has gone up, and we are turning into a middle income country soon. So despite of this kind of progresses, in regard to women's empowerment or in regard to gender equality or in regard to violence against women, we are still lagging far behind. I can cite some of the statistics, like recently Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics have conducted a survey on violence against women, and that survey came out that 82% of our married women are experiencing violence by their intimate partners. So this is quite high, 82%. That means almost all women are experiencing violence, and by their intimate partner, not outside. So it is really very scary situation in the country. This is one scenario. And the second scenario I want to highlight here, I think early marriage or child marriage is very high in our country. The UNICEF report explains that 52% of our girls are married off before they are reaching 18 when they are moving to the secondary school, most of the girls they are dropping out. So this is really, really, really negative. And in the world, I think Bangladesh is the fourth highest in regard to child marriage. And in regard to violence, we are economically in one hand progressing, but in the other hand, in regard to violence, I think the scenario is deteriorating. So the nature of violence is also shifting. Like before, we haven't heard about gang rape, but nowadays gang rape is very common phenomenon, and also rape in public services, public transport. This is also very common. And another, due to this internet use, cyberbullying is actually new emerged abuses against women. So these are the things if you actually look into. So people sometimes say maybe the reporting has increased, but I will say because people are now becoming conscious, so they are reporting. But on the other hand, if you see in the scenario or in the figures, it's very high, very high. If you want to, if you are moving into the middle income country, but gender dimension is very, very scary. So, and also, in one hand, I would say another challenge we are facing, though this kind of scenario is increasing, but on the other hand, particularly the leaders, social leaders, political leaders, most of the time, they influence or they take favorable side of the perpetrators. So the victims or the survivors, they cannot get justice. So this is another challenge we face. So and also the culture of impunity is very common. Most of the time, the victims they have to compromise with the cases, though they have evidences, though they have examples, they know who has done this work. But when they go to to take the legal shelter, they do not get support from public administration, from the local leaders, even from the elected local governments. So this is really, really very challenging how to handle. But in our community radios, definitely we are trying out some efforts and we are creating some good examples which might be expanded or scaled up. So I will talk some of these things later.
Thank you, Anna, so much. I think what has come up one clear case is that when a country may be doing very well on economic grounds, on economic indicators, but on human development indicators, they don't always do well, particularly when it comes to their own being fair in terms of justice and equality for all the marginalized communities, whether it is women, whether it is any other minority sections. I think we fail miserably because our structures of society, those who are in power, are still working on the patriarchal structural system. So that needs to be, I think what is common across here seems to be that we are all talking about it, but we are not able to kind of break through there yet. May I request Meena ji to please?
Okay, thank you. And same as Bangladesh, and the people of Nepal, or we women of Nepal are facing the same problem. And mostly in our country, the child marriage rate is also so high, and women trafficking, same as domestic violence and dowry system also. And we are facing that problem. And child marriage rate, we can find the data that still 40% child marriage happen in our country. And after getting the child marriage in before 20 years, and that girls when she will grow up, she will face lots of problem like domestic violence, and that from if she will marry in child age, and she will be tortured by domestic violence, and she might have some health problem also after being a mother in childhood age. And not only this, and most of the part of in Thai region of our country, and the women are facing dowry system problem also. If they will not get much more property from her mother side, and their marriage system will not run properly. That's problem also facing in our country. And not only this, the domestic violence also one of the most problem in our country, and there is same as Bangladesh, our country is also trying to give equality to male and female, and our constitution is going to give equal rights to girls, to women and male, but still we have to do lots to get that rights from our own home and from our own society. And we can, if we can't struggle in our home and in our society, we cannot get such kinds of right properly. And as I'm working as a journalist, as a social manager in my radio, and still I am the female, and I'm working as a head of that station. Still, people can't believe that the female person can be the head of some organization. They cannot believe easily. And if somebody, for example, if somebody enter in my office or in our organization and they said just a hello in our language, Nani or sister, they address us easily, hello, hi, sister. And when they will enter in our newsroom or in technical room, and if they will find male person there, and they will easily say namaste and sir, they do respect for men easily, but for women, they cannot easily accept that women can be a manager, can be the head of organization. They cannot easily accept. This is one example in our society, and before. So we are trying our best to stop. So we are trying our best to stop the child marriage, to reduce the child marriage. And I want to give one example. Among the 40%, we still facing the child marriage in our society, and our network AMARC is taking initiation of that part, and they just we celebrate 100 days child marriage against child marriage campaign, and all the radios of more than 325 radios in our country, and they send we all the radios produce lots of PSAs, public service announcement and program and discussion program to raise the voice about the child marriage and to reduce the child marriage in our country, and we are trying like that, and for domestic violence also, and we are trying some discussion program, radio program, and I want to say that if the station there is still we have to do practice that women programs should there is one most of the people say that the women programs should conduct or should produce by female. It's not a right way. If they want to solve the problem, or they want to help girls or help women, they should take a lead to produce women program by men also, so we can get their equality, or they can understand the problem of female. And we community leaders of Nepal are trying to do this. Do this practice, and we're trying our best.
Thank you, Madam Johnson. Thank you so much. In Thailand, on the surface, you might see that Thailand is quite modern. Thailand is quite modern country in terms of economics and in terms of development, but still. Statistically, 1/3 of families face some sort of domestic violence. It comes in many forms. Verbally violence, talk badly to your daughter. Low life expectation, which means they expect more from their boys than girls. If in rural areas, if they have to choose with limited money, which gender, which boy or which girl should I send to school? they would pick boy. Why? After the girl gone up, she will belong to another family, marry out to another family, and hope that the boy will take care of parents. So this is if they have to make decisions.
To Maria, from Central Java Batam, she questioning when she have a patient with the diet. How
there is a problem.
Thank you. How about physical violence? Just a nick of time for this panel. About 2 weeks ago, within this past 2 weeks,
questions? This is Fifi from Bethesda. How is about the nursing care for diabetic? Probably in hospital or in clinic.
Something is, you can hear some. Yeah, can you just mute? Okay, let's go.
Thank you. So, the point I want to say was that recently, there was 2 intriguing news reported. First one, father raped his daughter for 7 years. And you might question, okay, well, girl, why did you stay home? And when you go to school, why don't you tell your teacher? No trust. Never been advised, what should I do with this kind of situation? Where is your mother? She was in prison. So, right after her mom came out, she told her mom, what do we miss here? A very small unit of advice center. Who should I go talk, tell this, and I trust enough that I will not get punished for my father again, right? This is one thing. This is one situation. Another situation, this is really strange situation. Father left daughter again for many years. Eventually, it became news because she could escape the house and to her auntie's house and told her aunt. The father sued the daughter. Why? It's kind of odd. Why? Oh, because she broke the promise. When I first raped her, I made her promise me not to tell anybody. So now she told her aunt, and it get into public interest, become mainstream news, throughout Thailand. So I want to sue her. What kind of justification is this? This is something that happened in quite modern nation like Thailand, right? And then the third case that need to mention about social media. Just 5 days ago, 17 years old girl would like to call, she called herself net idol. I think you might heard the word internet idol. It should be any kind that someone who can collect a big number of likes, share, right? What she decided to do was take off her clothes, walk in the bridge, walk on the bridge at the coastal area, in the tourist area, even though it's at 3 in the morning, but she live. She Facebook live to call attention and get more likes. So what society are we in? Is this domestic violence? Maybe not. Is this media literacy? Maybe not. But is this about parenting? This is about socialization that did not really give her an idea of who you are, how to make yourself to be respected. So she turned herself to become commodity, like a good, that people can come, oh yeah, this is so interesting, keep like and share. But it is in a negative way. So this is one part of Thailand that takes place at present. But also, that when we talk about gender, it's not just negative thing, right? If we give negative presentation, everything is so boring because there is no way out. We have to help, we have to give money, we have to develop, right? But at the same time, I like to present something very interesting that in 1973, the statistics showed that at the law school, 1 to 5, 1 female to 5 male go to law school. At present, 5 to 1. 5 female go to law school, 1 male, comparing to me. I think this is a good news, but the thing is, not smiling yet. Look at their position. Is this girl, are these girls on the top of the bar, the law bar, or they are at the top of, the court for domestic violence? Instead of the court of commerce, instead of the court of high justice. So we have to look at that as well. So this is the situation in Thailand. I would like to take it up to here.
Thank you, Johnson. Very please. This time I would like to tell a particular incident in relation to violence against women and children. In our town, in Sagada, there was this man who have been victimizing some girls between 9 to 11 years old. And it took some time and a lot of girls to be involved with him. These are innocent, and his act of lasciviousness is not for these innocent girls. They do not see it as something wrong. Until one time, this girl told this story to some other people, and some parents got to know about it. Despite the knowledge of the police, they have not arrested this man. And because in some indigenous people's communities, there is this council of elders, mostly these are composed of men, and they would rather have some kind of compromise, or what we might call amicable settlement on this issue. And usually, as in the past, it is a tradition there is this tradition of banishment as a form of punishment for such cases, like other criminal cases. But women, those also involved in the radio, and part of the community women's organization, are not satisfied with this.
Can something is happening? We are still hearing some voices from there. Can you please check?
So the women's group, also encouraged by the management of the radio, made citizens arrest. So it is the women who arrested the perpetrator and brought it to the police. So these are situations where women have to take into their hands what may be allowed legally to achieve a certain level of justice. And so this man is one among the 70% prisoners in our province who are criminals and whose atrocities are on women. So there is an increasing incident of violence against women and children, at least in our province, and also the latest in our town. It's now boys
raping girls. So this violence continues. And if you look at it on the power structures in the Philippines, recently, we have seen women raising issues against the highest office of the land for his bad mouth against women, incarcerating women who are against his policies. And this is the patriarchal culture in the power structure are even more reinforced by this. And even if we have a lot of laws, in the Philippines we have Magna Carta that protects women in labor, work. But these laws are not fully implemented given this kind of reinforced patriarchal in the patriarchal culture in the power structures. And so this campaign to end violence against women, discrimination against women, will have to continue. And we have to be vigilant all the more at this time that even the highest position would say something that encourages rape or atrocities on women. So this is practically declaring war against women. But despite of this, we have also to highlight little victories. For example, the incident where women did the citizen's arrest would change the brand of reportage also. It would encourage reporting concrete victories amid a continuing struggle to end violence against women and children.
Thanks, Mary. I think Mary has already pointed out as one of the ways in which she can address some of the issues, the citizens' arrest being one of them, that women themselves take it upon themselves to kind of take the case further, given that the social structures which are supposed to take care of law and order are actually allowing the men to get away with impunity. So I think that is one such example. So this leads me to another question. Though we are running short on time, I would like to restrict it to 2 further questions. And please, I hope you don't mind because we are running short on time. I would request you to kind of address 2 issues. One being that what are the kind of activities you have done or programming you may have done that has encouraged more women's participation in your radio station and programming? And second is, what are the actions or activities you have done to include men to address gender issues within your radio stations? If you can take this to a very short way so that then we can open the floor for more questions and for some more, maybe they may have some more examples to share with us as well. So, who would like to go first? Oh, sure.
Ya, untuk menghadapi persoalan yang sangat besar tadi ada banyak 3 persoalan inti. Kami di radio komunitas kita punya program yang tadi sudah saya sebut sedikit, kita sebutnya 3 on. Jadi 3 on for 3 air. Nah, 3 on ini yang di tingkat on air. Kita tahu tadi kan ada banyak persoalan yang terkait dengan perempuan dan anak. Ini salah satu penyebab utama adalah karena kemiskinan, dan kemiskinan ini mengakibatkan akses ke pendidikan, akses informasi, akses untuk mendapatkan rezeki yang lebih baik itu menjadi minim. Maka kami berupaya dengan menggunakan radio komunitas itu bagaimana kita melakukan upaya untuk meningkatkan peran partisipasi perempuan di ruangan ini. Misalnya 3 program 3 on tadi, kita on pertama adalah on air. Jadi on air kita melakukan kegiatan-kegiatan seperti talk show di radio komunitas dengan mengundang perempuan-perempuan di sekitar radio komunitas untuk menceritakan pengalaman mereka, success story mereka, atau juga pengalaman-pengalaman mereka Jadi kita berupaya membuat image yang lebih positif tentang perempuan yang ada di dalam komunitas, sehingga itu juga membuat mereka akan lebih percaya diri. Ada contoh di radio saya, di radio komunitas Suara Warga FM di Jombang, ada ibu-ibu pedagang pecel pedagang makanan tradisional. Dia bekerja secara keliling dengan menggunakan sepeda kayu ataupun sepeda motor. Nah, ketika mereka mendapat kekerasan dari aparat karena dianggap mengotori kota, mereka ini kita tarik ke radio komunitas. Jadi kita buat mereka untuk diskusi dengan pihak aparat, membicarakan persoalan mereka, kemudian mencari solusi bersama tentang persoalan yang mereka hadapi. Itu salah satu contohnya dengan melakukan kegiatan on air, dan itu kita siarkan menggunakan bahasa lokal. Kemudian kita juga sama seperti teman-teman di Bangladesh dan di Nepal, kita juga putar ILM atau PSE ya, kita PSE yang secara terus menerus mengkampanyekan tentang pentingnya hak perempuan untuk diberikan, dan pentingnya perempuan lebih lebih aktif dan berpartisipasi di banyak hal. Misalnya bagaimana perempuan juga ikut memantau dana desa dan sebagainya, itu juga kita terus kampanyekan melalui radio komunitas. Itu yang on air. Sementara yang di online, kita ada online atau on ground activities. Jadi saya merasa bahwa hanya dengan on air saja itu tidak cukup, karena persoalannya terlalu besar. Dengan kegiatan bersiaran saja tidak cukup, tetapi bagaimana kita di tengah masyarakat juga melakukan kegiatan-kegiatan yang terkait dengan apa yang sedang kita perjuangkan. Di radio komunitas kita juga melakukan pengorganisasian kelompok perempuan. Jadi misalnya tadi ada kelompok ibu pecel, ada di teman-teman Cirebon itu juga ada komunitas keluarga buruh migran yang mereka juga melakukan kampanye tentang hak buruh migran melalui radio komunitas. Itu juga dilakukan. Kemudian pelatihan untuk memberikan keterampilan lebih kepada komunitas, kepada kelompok perempuan, itu juga kita lakukan. Saya sendiri misalnya di beberapa, sebenarnya saya sering melakukan memberikan pelatihan kepada kelompok-kelompok masyarakat seperti petani perempuan, nelayan perempuan. Saya kasih contoh kasus di Jepara. Ada banyak perempuan karena di status identitasnya, di kartu identitasnya dia hanya sebagai ibu rumah tangga. Di ID card-nya dia hanya diakui sebagai ibu rumah tangga. Tetapi sebenarnya dalam pekerjaan, dia bekerja sehari-hari, dia adalah nelayan. Dia juga pergi ke laut, mengolah hasil laut dan sebagainya juga. Nah, karena dia tidak memiliki status sebagai nelayan, maka dia tidak memperoleh akses asuransi perlindungan nelayan. Maka kami kemudian melakukan pelatihan, ya, bekerja sama dengan NGO, dengan teman-teman jaringan, dengan kawan-kawan yang lain. Kita melakukan upaya untuk pertama yang dilakukan merubah status mereka. Kita lobby kepada pemerintah, kepada dinas-dinas terkait, kepada dinas mempengaruhi kepala desa untuk mau merubah status dari ibu rumah tangga menjadi nelayan. Ini sudah berhasil. Mereka sekarang sudah memperoleh status di ID card-nya sebagai nelayan. Tetapi sekarang masih sedang berjuang untuk bagaimana juga bisa memperoleh asuransi perlindungan nelayan. Itu salah satu contoh yang kita. Dan ini juga kita kampanyekan melalui radio komunitas. Di radio komunitas saya kira ini ruang edukasi yang sangat baik bagi komunitas, karena ini sangat dekat dengan komunitas. Perempuan tidak hanya membutuhkan pendidikan formal. Pendidikan formal saja, ya di Indonesia saya kira mungkin di beberapa negara yang lain akses bagi pendidikan bagi perempuan mungkin sudah meningkat ya, sudah mulai lebih baik. Tetapi itu tidak cukup. Saya kira kita juga butuh pendidikan misalnya bagaimana mereka lebih memahami tentang konstruksi gender. Itu saya kira itu tidak bisa kita dapatkan di sekolahan. Tapi itu bisa kita lakukan melalui program on air, online, diskusi dengan mereka seperti itu. Nah kemudian yang di online kita juga menyadari bahwa radio komunitas mungkin space-nya sangat terbatas di Indonesia. alokasinya sangat alokasi frekuensi dan jam itu juga sangat terbatas, dan saya kira radio juga akan cepat hilang ketika diputar kemudian mungkin orang nggak mendengarkan lagi. Tapi kita juga mencoba apa yang kita siarkan itu juga disiarkan melalui media sosial yang ada, atau contohnya ketika kita hari ini kita akan ada diskusi tentang human trafficking misalnya, atau tentang HIV/AIDS misalnya. Itu kita beberapa hari sebelumnya kita sudah sebar di media sosial kan, melalui Facebook, melalui ini, sehingga masyarakat bisa berpartisipasi. Atau kadang-kadang kita perlu menggabungkan dua metode on air dan online, atau off air, atau teman-teman bilangnya off air. Online dan off air ini kita gabungkan. Kita melakukan diskusi talk show di radio, tetapi menghadirkan komunitas di sana. Kita diskusi di sana, tapi itu di on air kan. Jadi masyarakat bisa langsung diskusi di sana dengan bahasa yang mereka pahami, mereka ketahui gitu. Kemudian saya kira three on gitu yang kita lakukan. Jadi on air ada banyak diskusi dan diskusi komunitas dan pemilihan drama radio juga kita bikin. Kemudian online tadi ada training, ada diskusi komunitas, ada radio streaming juga. Beberapa radio komunitas di Indonesia banyak yang sekarang mulai menggunakan radio streaming, karena seperti yang dibilang oleh Bapak Menteri kemarin, Indonesia juga sudah mulai semakin memperbaiki akses internet. Tapi mungkin masih yang di sekitar Jawa, tapi di luar Jawa juga mungkin belum semuanya bisa mengakses, dan itu masih cukup mahal bagi radio komunitas. Nah itu yang harus kita pikirkan juga ke depan. Nah yang saya kira itu ya yang pengalaman yang kita sudah lakukan. Jadi yang satunya mungkin saya kira yang paling penting bagaimana radio komunitas ini menjadi media kita untuk mendidik masyarakat. Masyarakat menjadi mengetahui dan memahami situasi yang sedang terjadi. Kemudian bagaimana masyarakat juga bisa memberikan kontribusi untuk kira-kira solusi terhadap persoalan-persoalan yang terjadi, baik kekerasan terhadap perempuan, human trafficking, ekonomi, pendidikan dan sebagainya. Itu juga mereka memberikan suaranya, mereka memberikan solusi. Karena ternyata sebenarnya banyak yang persoalan-persoalan itu yang sebenarnya bisa diselesaikan di komunitas sendiri. Tidak harus selalu dalam konteks yang besar. Kadang misalnya politisi, kadang kami ada beberapa politisi gitu yang datang ke komunitas kita, misalnya kepada kelompok ibu-ibu pedagang pecel yang saya ceritakan tadi. Mereka janji akan membantu program ini, program itu untuk meningkatkan kapasitas mereka, untuk meningkatkan ekonomi mereka, dan mereka memberikan sumbangan untuk pertemuan itu hanya untuk konsumsi saja gitu. Tetapi setelah itu mereka pergi. Jadi mereka enggak, dan setelah mereka jadi anggota dewan, mereka nggak melakukan apa-apa untuk kita. Ada dibikin program, tapi programnya nggak jalan, korupsi oleh pemerintah, oleh beberapa pihak. Nah seperti itu ya, itu yang kemudian kita terus gunakan itu untuk kita diskusikan juga di radio. Kita belajar kenapa seperti itu, kenapa mereka kita tagih juga, kenapa kalian hanya berjanji-janji saja. Tetapi komunitas yang bilang itu, bukan saya, bukan aktivisnya, bukan hanya NGO-nya, tetapi komunitas yang harus mengatakan itu, baik secara langsung maupun melalui radio komunitas. Saya kira itu.
Thank you, Faiza. Strategies that you mentioned is that it's just not going on air is enough. We need to also work on the ground as well as on using the social media to reach out to more and more people. The various aspects that you're talking about. We are short on time again. I'm sorry, I'm kind of rushing you, but could you please share your experience?
Yeah, I thought of sharing two examples, but I will share one. And regarding also engaging men and boys, also another point I want to touch base. So I will actually want to focus on how one initiative we have done in Bangladesh through our Bangladesh Community Radio Association, and that was a campaign for 3 months where we involved all the community radio initiators, and the focus was ending child marriage. So our thinking was, or our objective was, how we can sensitize the mass community around ending child marriage. At the same time, another effort we adopted here, or thought of including, that how we can engage different stakeholders, because if you want to address this child marriage, here different kind of stakeholders are involved. Parents, children themselves, also law enforcement agencies, police, school teachers, local leaders. So we thought of categorically how we can reach those different stakeholders. So this was really one unique example which Bangladesh Community Radio Association has picked up, and it was really one good example. Here what we have done, considering this ending child marriage, different type of program we have thought of, starting from ringtone to promo, public service announcement. Here we actually announce this is child marriage is an offense and there are punishment, and also in case of need, there is a hotline which government is promoting. So all the community radio was actually promoting this hot number 109. So and definitely they can reach out and they can get support. And also there was another effort we have adopted. If somebody is a problem, where to connect for different services. So 3-month wide this campaign took place, and we categorically picked up 13 different stakeholders to target. And here actually finally we could reach out 8 million population through all these 17 community radio. At the moment Bangladesh has 17 community radio on air, and another 16 is in the process. So we will be 34 maybe in the coming days, but at the moment 17 are on air. So we involve all these community radios. So finally we could reach 8 million population towards ending child marriage. This is one through different initiative. And finally what we have found, this could create a good momentum in the community. Many people actually sensitized through this initiative, and we have seen there were examples where people came forward to stop child marriage. Like one incident we have heard from one community radio, one marriage register, when he heard that this is illegal and the marriage register can be also punished. So he actually declared, if any early marriage proposal is coming to me and I should conduct, I'm not going to do it. So he announced that message across the community. So people were actually sensitized, and people were avoiding to come to him for early marriage. There was also incident when the tea stall member, he came through this radio message, and he was also advocating not to go for child marriage. So thousands and thousands of examples you can see, they have stood against the child marriage. So finally, what we thought of, at the end of these 3 months, there was huge demand in the community. And from BCRA also, we thought of maybe, particularly in the coming days, if we are focusing on social issues, can we go for this kind of campaign? So together, if we are doing this kind of campaign, simultaneously all the community radios are actually promoting the same messages. So in our plan, we are thinking whether and how we can go for campaigning more, particularly addressing the social issues like violence against women and in child marriage, and how to challenge this material. This is one. But while I say that this has gone very well and successful effort, we are thinking of how to scale up this type of initiative. At the same time, how we can involve mainstream media. If all the medias are playing the same kind of role, definitely the outcome or the effect will be wider, covering the whole country. This is one. And another challenge we see, how different organizations can also pick up the same things, or how we can mainstream this ending child marriage effort in the ongoing development interventions, be it health program or be it education program, how we can incorporate this patriarchal norm challenging initiative or any child marriage type of thing. This is one. And third thing, our thinking or challenge is how we can bring different stakeholders in the same platform. Most of the time we work with the maybe community, with the parents, but we don't think of involving how we can involve the marriage registers, how we can involve the local elected representatives, how we can involve the police. So if we are not actually bringing different stakeholders in the same platform, this type of social problem is not going to end. So that is one thing we are thinking or struggling how we can cover different stakeholders. This is one thing. And in this same initiative, I want to reflect a little bit about the man and boys engagement. In this same initiative, we actually had one target population to reach out, the men and boys. And the effort was really very positive. And through this campaign, we could reach 70,000 men and boys who actually sent at the end SMS or phone call. They are against this child marriage. So what is our learning? We have to engage men and boys. Not only we need to work with the women and the community. Men and boys is one strong stakeholder. Most of the time we actually bypass them. So we need to involve them, and if we involve them, sensitize them, positive responses comes in. So this is one example, and we want to actually continue such effort in the coming days. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I've been told I have 10 minutes, so it's unfortunate. Let's try it. Let's just first finish this and then we'll...
Thank you. We have a short time, and so I would like to say one or two examples only. In our contest, why our community radio is inspiring women, and we are the only one in the media who are telling their stories or capturing their stories. And I want to give only two examples, and one our community, our network, our community radio network, from last 2 years, the network is leading to make a program more effective for child marriage, to reduce the child marriage, and to make women empowered. And in every 11th October, the radio is taking lead of child stable program, and so we collect the girls from our community, and she will play the role of program producer, and we will take the song girls from our community, and they will take the role of panelists, and they will share about how to reduce child marriage and how to empower women and girls in our society. And this is the one example, and more than 325 radios follows these. And another example that our network is doing that, we are promoting Buhari Patrakarita, means daughter-in-law or housewife journalism. So we can run our radios effectively, and so we can give equal chances to the women also. This is one example. And another example, I want to share you that one of my colleagues, she is attending in this conference also, and she is from Radio Guru Baba, and I want to give one example of her radio. And in the time of conflict time in our country, and she's from Basgadi Nagarpalika, and her name is Sobarani, and her husband was disappeared or lost, or they blame that the government kidnapped or government killed him, and she did not get any property or any rights from her household. And when the radios and radio or other media cover her story in our radio, and the government or the local government, they call her their parents, and she get property from that story, and this is the one good example of our country. And one another example I will give you shortly. And our radio is being one of the best medium for women empowerment. And in our country, most of the mother groups, they are so effective in every social activities in our country. And when we started to keep their news, their program, their voices in our radio, and they started to support radio also. And every time and every moment, and they started to share their information, keep their news in our radio. And my radio, Community Radio Marsangdi, every year we awarded that mother groups, one best mother groups for sharing their news and the working, because mother groups are one of the main theme or main example of our community, and this is one example. And for the equality, for the gender equality, I want to say that among 325 radios, community radios in Nepal, and only 8 radios are leading by women, and among that 8, all the radios are leading by male person, and they are keeping women voices, they are producing women voices and program related to women, and this is one of the best example. They are keeping our voices, and they are raising voices every day. Not only in our off-air program, we have conducted lots of discussion program and talk shows and public hearing program to raise their issues. And I want to thank all my colleagues for raising our issues in the community radios. Those community radios who are leading by my male colleagues, and thank you. I want to give thank you to all of them.
Thank you, Meena. Jalisa, please begin.
Okay, I will be brief. We're talking a lot about what kind of programs we have done, activities, right? For Thailand, let's say from my experience, what I did in the past was to empower the station staff. I noticed that because I start off in the south of Thailand, where it is a conflict zone for terrorism. So it's quite difficult to women to come work at the radio station at certain period of time. That is one thing that I think we all commonly share. Another thing that is intrigued me was their internal perception of themselves. Should I be the leader? One lady was the school principal in the south. She had bachelor degree in education, but she gave in her leading role to a male who also have bachelor degree. And I asked her later, why? I think you seem to eager, and you can engage a lot more people. You seem to understand this community. Oh, it's okay. No explanation. Right. But that was 20-something years ago, since 1999, I think. Yeah. So one thing, I come to think how to help them, training. Normally you might heard about training the trainer, right? And so I said, instead of training the trainer for like both male and female, why don't I focus on female first? Teach female how to go teach male and female anchor or radio producer. So that is the way to empower them. It went pretty well. One of the Muslim lady in the South, even this day she became the head of multiple million development project. I was so proud. If you look back 20 years ago, she could not even come out and talk. But because of this process, I guess that attitude adjustment is really important. How do we make that to happen? Have you ever think that, okay, look at your radio station, the staff, how many male and female are we? When we mention this, people say, nah, we don't want to talk about quota. Quota is for women, so it's negative again. Okay, not taking that, but count how many. look at your volunteer, after the staff, look at the volunteer, how many male and female. You will see different, believe me, between staff and volunteer. The proportion between male and female. And then look up at their age. What kind of age, what age group are they for staff member and for volunteer members? Because we are talking about paid member and free labor. And then look at their position. Even they are volunteer, but volunteer also have many layers, right? You are the node, you collect more people from your community, right? And so that node has a chance to talk about what kind of program, what content should we present, right? How about at the staff level? What position do they take? Now, cross that with their education. Cross that with their village. Where did they come from? If you think that, oh, village, so many villages. How about rural area and suburban area and then in the city? You will see the difference. I think if we all do this from just our internal unit, we might realize that, oh, this is who we are before we go and talk about gender equality. Because we kind of understand ourselves. So that is what I like to present here.
Thanks, Charissa, for being that brief.
Just make it brief. I think there are twin actions to take. Education on air, and I agree with my colleagues here, and to take action on the ground. I think this will should continue, but education on air and action on the ground should monitor developments and challenges and achievements to give hope along the long, rough road for the comprehensive solution to this issue. On the radio, we encourage production in several forms, like radio blogs, radio drama, talk show, news programs to tackle all these issues. It's the task to end the atrocities against women and children is so overwhelming. But little by little, consider in partnership with different stakeholders, the women's organization, and also the local and national government must also take account of this task of ending or in this crusade against all of these forms of atrocities.
Thanks, Mary. I think we are at the end of the time allotted to us. Thank you all the panelists, and I apologize because we could not take questions from the floor. And I'm also, I'm sorry to rush you all because I'm sure over the years that your experience has shown so much work you have done, and to compress it into a few minutes is not always very easy. But we are all available to us, to anyone who would like to kind of share their experiences with us or ask them any questions or comments. We have the next 2-3 days. We can find each other and share. That would be welcome. So what has come across, I think, another important across, the issues are common. We have 6 countries here, and the issues remain by and large common across all these 6 countries, across roughly 3 regions, if you see in Asia Pacific. Even the kind of the work that they have done is similar to an extent, but the strategies that emerged, as we saying, that on air and off the air, and using social media, and the other interesting which came up from these 2 examples here from Bangladesh and Nepal also has been about how a network of country radio, when it takes up as a campaign, that's and everyone is doing the same thing, has a very prominent role to play when the issue is across the country. That can play an important role. So that's another area that we have looked at. And other issues like mothers groups and their citizens arrest are kind of some of the strategies that the women have evolved to kind of address some of the issues that women have. So I'm sorry, we are at the end session. I'd like to wrap it up. I don't think so I should take any more time. But I'll just say thank you all, and please do interact with all the panelists. And I'm sure there in the audience also we have a lot of experiences from that. I just have one announcement to make, and then I will. This is from Shane. He's asked me to announce that the declaration drafting committee, after they've had their refreshments, should come and meet here, Shane here at the count there, near the stage. There will be a short meeting, it won't take much time, but he needs to kind of interact with them. So I request all the declaration drafting committee to kind of meet Shane after the refreshments. Thank you all. Thank you, panelists.
Thank you, Nimi. Thank you all the panelists. I think we'll now take a break, a short break of 30 minutes for refreshments, and we'll all be back in this hall exactly at 11:30, a few minutes before 11:30 to start plenary 3. I would just like to mention that regarding the workshops today, as of workshop 1, it will be the same group as yesterday. For workshop 2, which is emergency broadcasting technology for disaster management, it can be a different group. So if any of you is interested, please register. Workshop 3, digitalization, the Australian experience, will also be the same group. And workshop 4, radio drama production, is also the same group. And workshop 5 as well, mirrors and reflections, is the same group as well. Thank you very much.
नेपाली साथीहरूले एउटा सामूहिक फोटो खिच्ने कुरा हो। नेपाली साथीहरू हामी एउटा सामूहिक फोटो खिच्ने कुरा हो मञ्चमा, सबैजना यता आइदिनु होला। नेपाली साथीहरू
all Nepali आफ्नो बोकिएन जोडी होइन धेरै
Teman-teman semuanya, kita akan segera mulai untuk sesi yang ketiga. Jadi mohon bantuannya dan minta tolong untuk kita segera menempati kursi masing-masing. Friends, we will start from the third panel. So we invite Sima Roy as the moderator for the third plenary. Sima Roy, Health Communication Consultant from Singapore.
Hello everybody, welcome back. Can we please start session 3? Eventually. Okay, can I call upon my panelists to join me up here? Can we have Didi, Rosado, Tariq, and the Japanese friend who is missing? Katsui Yasoda. Is everybody ready for session number 3, please? Can we have your attention? Suman, am I allowed to start? Okay. Selamat siang, buen dia. And hello everybody, this is session 3, so could you please settle yourself? appreciate highly if you give us some attention so that we all can benefit from the thoughts and the views shared by our panel. We'd appreciate if you refrain as much as possible from making calls on your mobile phones. Please participate in this session. I think it's useful for all of us. A lot of us have traveled very far to enjoy the experiences that we are going to listen to. So if I could urge you to please take your seats. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, migration is as natural as breathing. Those are one of the quotes you will find very widely scattered around. It's as often and it's as almost similar to breathing, which is what migration is. But the number of those forcibly displaced from their homes, whether it's due to war, climate change, disasters, whatever the case may be, it's on the rise. More and more these days we see images of people stuck in boats in the middle of oceans because they can't get to a destination or they're fleeing homes. So what are these conditions we are facing today and how is community radio playing a role? If I may start by introducing my panel, they will introduce themselves. So can we start with Presidio, please? Presidio Jimenez from Timor-Leste.
Hello everybody, thank you for giving me a chance. First of all, I would like to say thanks to Sumant, Imam Prakoso, and the other member of the organizing committee of AMARC who has bring us to here to share our experience through my organization. My name is Presidio Jimenez. I am the president of East Timor Community Radio Association. My radio station, the rule of my organization is we work to make strength the community radio station to be the inclusive media that representing the voice of Timorese. We also work more to make the community radio station in Timor-Leste to work more independent.
Thank you. Tariq, can I please ask you to introduce yourself?
Everybody welcome. My name is Tariq Islam. I'm working with Bangladesh Community Radio Association in Bangladesh. Also, I work with Radio Nav, Technam Kotsbajar. I would like to share my experience regarding migrations and relevant issues. Thank you.
Tariq, I move on now to Didi, and she'll tell us what she has been doing all this while.
Thank you very much. My name is Didi. I'm just an independent individual who happens to work with Refugee Service Indonesia from 2015 to 2017. And I would like to share my experience when I was working on the field with asylum seekers and refugees in Cisarua area. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Katsuya Soda from Japan, Suramachian. I established CSO named Nami now. Nami means refugee in Japanese. Our goal is raising social awareness through the appropriate information. So today I would like to share with colleagues about current situation of refugees in Japan. And Japan refugee issue has strong link with other migrant issues. So I would like to share about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. I think we'll have a great discussion here, but first of all, that all these terms being bantering around, migration, refugees, displaced communities, regardless really of what you call them, I think the centerfold here is that they are forming a large community around the world and they still face a lot of difficulties. So this session, we really want to find out what are the challenges, and if we can really begin with what's happening in the news in the last few days, over the one whole year really, it's really a situation with the Rohingyas. And 2 days ago there was a hope that they would go back to Myanmar. The ASEAN meeting happened in Singapore where I'm from, and there was a lot of pressure to make this happen. I'm not sure that's going to happen today or anytime soon, but perhaps we can start with Tariq, who can tell us perhaps how his station and how community radio stations in Bangladesh is probably helping to address the situation with the Rohingyas. So Tariq, over to you.
Thank you. Migration situation in Bangladesh. Right now, around 500,000 people are migrated every year. So we have a major problems regarding migrations, peoples, workers, unsafe migration. Number 2 is sexual harassment, abuse. And third problem is discriminations, particularly women. And recently we faced Rohingyas influx of issues, human crisis. Community radio in Bangladesh, particularly community radio in Ranaf, is the only one media, community media in this area. From beginning, community radio Ranaf is doing well with the cooperations of local governments regarding rescue of the Myanmar community, regarding nutrition issues, regarding safe production issues, regarding health issues and disaster and other climate issues. Right now, near about 1 million Rohingya peoples living in our different camps in Coxbazar, Ukhia and Teknapur jails. Most of them are, near about 60% are children and women. There are many things are happening in these areas. Number 1 is, we observe they have no capacity, they don't know, their education level is very low, their knowledge level is very low regarding family planning, regarding health, nutrition and other issues. So we develop different types of programs for the community with the help of national and international organizations like UNICEF, IOM, UNDP, etc. And also provide informations to the Rohingya peoples by the government instructions. How to save your life. Our experience, it's a very important experience and exciting experience. We are follow 2 strategies. We recruited some volunteers from community, Rohingya community. And we developed programs on all languages and information dissemination through community radio. We organized and we established some information hub in the camp. Volunteers provided services regarding information on different issues. And we formed listener groups among the community. Near about 30 listener groups now, and we have a plan to increase our listener groups and also information hub. But important is, after dissemination of our information, they learn more because we already conducted a baseline survey, and then after feedback survey, Initially, we found they have no knowledge about DRLA, disaster management risks, or child protection, or violence against women and child. But after 6 months, we find out some achievement regarding these issues through community radio. And government side is very positive. Also, donor agency is very positive. So I think it is a good practice for Rohingya communities, and community radio now is doing well for the community, particularly Rohingya communities, and fishermen communities also, ethnic community also, because there are many ethnic people are living in these areas, and also Dalit community. So in Bangladesh, community radio, all community radio are trying to develop a programs regarding migration related issues from beginning. And it added new issues for Rohingya communities, and we have a long-term plans with the corporations of governments as well as donor agencies to build up a network with the community. I think this is our primary discussions. If any queries and questions, I will deliver the answer. Thank you very much.
Can I now move on to Katsuya-san, please? You did mention that your station is a refugee station, the name being correct, and you deal with people from Burma, Myanmar. Give us a bit of an idea of what that's about.
Thank you very much. I make a program about refugee issues, and I also working with Myanmar refugees in Japan, and we make the program with their voices, and then especially second generation, and we make programs because second generations can very good Japanese, very nicely Japanese, and it means first generations will struggle for the language barriers in Japanese society. So we make this program with, we made the program with, just start to the make program with second generation of Myanmar refugees. And same is coexistence. And then about the Rohingya issues, sometimes in Japan, it's a little bit complicated because we are working with Burmese refugees, and Burmese is, like you know, is multi-ethnic countries, and refugees ethnic groups said Rohingya people is illegal migrants in Burma, so we cannot say they opposite very strong attitude to the Rohingya issues. It caused Japanese refugee aid workers cannot say anything to because hesitate to the relationship between the Myanmar refugees. So this is a situation in Japan.
I think we've kind of realized that one of the main few threads that we're hearing now is language is an issue, sensitivity to topics, whether you're illegal or whether you are part of a country or not. Just, I think it bangs on the point that we need to be more inclusive and to do more as community radio stations to include our communities. Presidio, if I can ask you what it's like in Timor-Leste. I mean, we've had your push for independence. We saw a lot of Timorese go into West Timor. It took a while for them to come back, so that was 1999. You went into independence, and then things flared up again in 2006. You had a situation would you care to tell us what are some of the experiences you faced as a community radio station addressing these issues, particularly at that time? And I think with Timor there's a long history, so if we have to focus all on Timor, it'll be one whole day. So that's why I'm picking 2006, which I think is its most significant and more recent. So if you could share with us on that, please.
Yeah, thank you. I think I agree with what the moderator said, that East Timor have long history about the migration. I think the migration has been happened since the colonization time, from the Portuguese, Japanese, and also to Indonesia. I just want to share more about what the community radio did in 2006 when the political crisis blew up in Timor-Leste, triggered by the decision of make research to the 400 military that most of them was coming part of the west of Timor. So this decision blew the new issue that the decision is making based on the racial issue. So at the time, the conflict, because the racial is blown up also, and then people from the east and west, they are fight each other, and it's impacting to the government institution. People not trust each other, including the army institution, also the police institution. So that situation is very chaos. So our leader at the time, they called help to UN, and then at the time they sent peacekeeping force to Timor to reduce the political chaos at the time. So and then
where does the role of community radio come in?
Yeah.
Give us an idea of that.
Yeah, I just want to bring you to that. And then at the time, UN established a mission named UNMIT, United Nations Mission in East Timor, to recover the situation. So at the time, RKTL, we work with the UNMIT mission. We producing a radio program, radio magazine. It been more than 60 episodes that talk about state building and peace building. So those program was broadcast to all community radio stations, and then the community radio journalists also take part in the process of producing this program. So we also pushing the community radio to do more activity, not only inside the radio station, but working with the social community, like creating a peace activity. So slowly we try to disseminate the information, the true information that should be known by people, because at the time a lot of issue that's blown up by the political interest. So we try to reduce the situation with giving the good, the true information. So community radio also take more part of involving the community leader, I mean the local leader, to come to the radio station to make more discussion about how they can trust each other to building peace, how they can have a same perception to develop the country for the future. And then We are also focused more activity for the young people because we see that at the time the victim of the violence that happened at the time most is the young people. So some of them by the victim, been the victim, so that we interview them, bring them to the radio station, talk about what they feel about the situation, what they want, what they're thinking about the future. And then I see that by the participation of the community during the community radio at the time, the tension of the political is slowly down because the community can have space to contact each other, saying they express their opinion through the radio program. So I think at the time we are a good partner with UNMIT. We done that project for 2 years, yeah, more than 2 years. And then the other issue, we also work with International Organization for Migration. They also come to radio stations sharing about how they do for the community, do their organization, and then we not only talk about the migration that caused by the political conflict, but we also slowly talk about the migration that caused by the natural disasters, the management of how to for the natural disaster. And then we involve more community radio journalists to get training, and they also going to their own radio station. They produce the news or they produce the program that related to the how to prevent the natural disaster. So we also cooperate with the local government. I think that's things that I can share. Maybe. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Prasado. I think he's brought up some good points. He's talked about how to include young people and get their voices heard, because often enough I think we tend to forget them. And in the case of Timor, with very many years of instability and political chaos, young people have felt very left out. They have been left without jobs. And when they're left without jobs, they get very frustrated. They essentially just lie around all day by the street sides playing guitars and idling time. And when you idle time, I think the other problem that comes up is rumors begin. Today we call them fake news, but it's essentially rumors. And once you start rumors, you get gangs upset, you get people upset, and that's where problems happen in the country like Timor. If I may just move on to Didi, I think Didi's experience will tell us a bit about dealing with the refugees in Bogor here in Indonesia. About 10, 15 years ago, when I was with the International Organization for Migration, we dealt with a lot of issues with migrants, from Aceh following the tsunami to, all the way to East Timor. But the group of people I met in Bogor personally were very interesting. They had no intention to end up here in Indonesia. These are Iranians, Afghanis, Iraqis. They wanted to go to Australia, so they get intercepted here in Indonesia. Sadly, they can't move on to Australia because they're really not wanted for various other reasons, and political issues there as well. But those were the constrictions, that they were stuck in Indonesia, a country that they never wanted to remain for more than a week or so. I personally met a lot of young men who were then frustrated and thought, okay, so what do I do now that I'm stuck in Indonesia? So they got very involved with the local community. They married Indonesian women, had children, made the best Afghani breads, very good breads. But then at the bottom line was they're wondering, what's going to happen now? What's going to happen to my children? So I think, Didi, you can explain to us, give us that picture of what's happened now, some 10, 15 years later.
Yeah, they do make the best bread ever, because I personally bought the bread on a regular basis, and that's actually one of, because in Indonesia they cannot work, so they cannot do any formal work, so they come up to any skills that they can make something, so they make bread, so then they sell it to the community or to people like me who work for the community, and I just bought it on regular basis, and it's a win-win solution. So 10, 15 years after, this community in Bogor has grown so big. They have, other than that, they don't have any access to do formal work. They don't also have access to school educations, especially for the kids. And they also have difficulties to access health facilities. Because they cannot work, they don't have the financial ability to access the health facilities. And if the families who have their children usually found difficulties in language. So if they want to send their kids to the local school, they can actually, out of kindness and generosity of the local community. But the problem then again, the language barrier, because this community from Afghanistan, from Iraq, from Iran, they speak Farsi in their own dialect, and they rarely speak Bahasa. I mean, for those, probably for the refugees and asylum seekers who already live in Indonesia, in Bogor for 10 years, and still live there, they already know Bahasa Indonesia. But for the family who just came, because I was there on 2015 up until the end of 2017, there are new families who came and they found it's a very dire situations, because as soon as they arrive in Indonesia, it's in the middle of nowhere, being in limbo, and they still want their kids to get educations. So this group of families, young men and young female, they come together and they have a discussions, and they agreed upon one thing, that if our kids cannot go to the local school because of language barrier, then let's make a school now. So they opened a first refugee school in 2014, helped by individuals, Indonesian individuals, helped by, they got fund from the community from Australia, from different countries. They are very advanced in how they do this crowdsourcing to finance the school. So since 2014 until now, there are already 5 refugee schools opened by the community themselves.
So I think we're talking about looking at the future, looking how to educate the future generations and children. But from Japan, what sort of other experiences can you tell us about? You discussed language earlier and how difficult it is. But you're also a country that's has a huge number of refugees. You only have 20. So that's quite interesting. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Thank you very much. Firstly, I would like to ask you all, in 2017, in Japan, 20,000 people applied for refugee status. And how many people recognized as refugees? Only 20. Recognized rate, it was 0.1%. So it means mostly people rejected refugee status. And now they are sometimes detention in Japan. This is a really serious problems. My friends also now in detention centers, so it is very hard to explain for me. And in Japan, like I told you, we use very specific language, Japanese, right? And we use for foreigners, language barrier is very high. So first generation from other countries to evacuate to Japan, like I said, they struggle for Japanese language. So they said, our life become destroyed when I became refugees. But I want to invest to our second generation, our children, with rich education. So they work so hard, double and triple, like this said, like we told, they sometimes cannot access to the official work, formal work, but they money through the double or triple works, and they invest their children's education. So now in Japan, the refugees second generation grow up in 17 years old and 18 years old. They access to the higher education. And then situation of the refugees in Japan slightly getting changed. First generation is struggling and really see a hard time in Japan. But second generation opens their future through the good education. I think this is a current situation in Japan. But this is it depends on the family policy. Some families abandon education for their children. They are dropped out from the community schools and the community. This is one of the serious issues.
Thank you. Sorry, can I go back to you and just try and get out of you what are some of the challenges you have faced doing your work where you are? TechNav is not a particularly easy place to work. So what's it like?
Thank you. Actually, we are facing lots of problems, particularly language problems. So we organized some strategy to engage the local peoples and also engage the Rohingya peoples. So our community radio teams develops programs with the engagement of community people, so that we solve these problems more or less. Second challenge is communication. Governments always asking what types of news, what types of programs we develop for the community, for the Rohingya community, so that always we link with the government peoples, and sometimes we submitted some radio programs to the government, then we'll back and then we'll disseminate the program. But positive side is community, government side is very positive, no problem. But problem is time constraints. Say examples, we need some programs right now to disseminate or broadcasting, but 1 hour or 1 day or 2 days waiting for government permissions. So, this is another challenge. My observation is, right now we are creating an enabling environment for the peoples, particularly information dissemination issues. Thank you very much.
Tarek, I have a question for you. If language is an issue, how do you know what you're broadcasting in another language is not something that's a bit sensitive? I think that was a question we brought up yesterday, that how do we know that we're not crossing the line and sensitive issues are not being touched on?
Actually, you know, we have a radio policy by the government, so that we follow always this government policy, as well as, you know, we have a site management committee in the campsites and local management committee, so that initially we provided training to the volunteers and our radio staffs and news reporters, how to develop a news and how to follow the guidelines of the government rules and ethics and others issues. So initially we faced problems. Right now we overcome this situation.
Okay, we've talked a bit for about half an hour. I want to open this up to all of you. So can I have some questions that you can throw to the panel here? Rules of engagement, 1 question only each time, and keep your questions short, please. Can I have some questions from the floor? Mics, please. got enough mics? Okay. No battery.
Cek.
Thank you. I'm Junichi Kubino from FMI Japan. So today we can share the experience which panelists talk about how each country, each radio communication deal with this issue.
Sorry, sir, can you speak up a bit louder?
Yeah. Sorry. But immigration and the refugee issue is not only the only country, because the people who migrate, the refugees across the border, this is the network of Asian Pacific. For instance, from the one country to the other country, migrants move. So we should they consider to deal with this kind of issue with for instance, Indonesia, among Indonesia and Japan. For instance, Korea and Myanmar. Because right now there's a lot of the women from Indonesia migrant to another country. So I had from the Sina, the head of the Jaringan Radio, the Indonesian Community Radio Network, work with IOM and the Ministry, the women, to promote, to inform this kind of issue to the women in the community basis. So, and also, our radio station also, many times, talk with Indonesian Community Radio Network to tackle with, to deal with this issue. So I have the question, are there any experience to do such kind of like this to the panelists? And the idea also.
Sorry, your question is what again? Because you're saying cross-border, bilateral, and I didn't quite get your question, sir. And who is the question for?
Yeah. Are there any the practice or the experience? So one country they work with another country. One country, so for instance, women they migrate from the one country to another country, but we are the network. Are there any good practice to work together to deal with this kind of the issue, the migration and the refugee? Because the problem should be solved, the solution from the two sides. That is my question.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone like to answer that?
Thank you very much. This is today's my point. I totally agree with Junichi's messages. I would like to explain about a little bit in the Japanese case. Is okay. Like I said, like I explained, in Japan, 20,000 people applied for refugee status, and only 20 people are recognized. And this story a little bit continues. In 2010, Japanese government changed their policy for asylum seekers. They permitted to work for them after 6 months of their applications. And before 2010, the number of refugee applicants was around 1,000. And after 2010, only 8 years, the number of applicants became 20 times. And the Japanese government, regarded them as migrant workers, not refugees. So they changed their policy again in this January. When people applied refugee status, they don't permit to work after 6 months. And then biggest applicant country is Nepal, and the second biggest country is Indonesia. But they mostly these countries' applicants are rejected by refugees as refugees, and I think I met some refugee applicants. They said to me, before they came to Japan, some brokers deceived them. If you go to Japan and apply refugee visa, refugee status, you can work after 6 months. And they made big financial loan, 1 million yen, $10,000. And they came to Japan and they rejected refugee recognition, and they needed to go back to their own countries. The government, Japanese government says they are fake refugees, but I think they are victims of human trafficking. So I think we need to prevent such kind of situations. And in national level, Japanese government already informed their policy, telling their policy change to other countries. But in a community level, victims were living in their own community. So we can prevent such kind of situation to telling appropriate information through community radio. I think this is a really important aspect of globalization era. And like George asked us, our platform can play really important and one and only role for these situations. So this is just ideas. I have not experienced practice yet, but I really hope such kind of platform. I really hope to start such kind of platform. This is my idea. Thank you very much.
We have another question. Please.
Good morning. I am Charlie from Pecojon, Philippines. My question is, in the migration situation, cultures from another country or another place gets infused to the culture where they're going to, right? So were there any programs in your radio station that address this to understand one another? And how did it affect the situation now?
Sorry, can you answer that question?
Thank you for your questions. Actually, we have experience to develop a local problem, cultural programs. You know, community radio is situated in local level. So we developed a local programs by our local singer or local artist. So to easy communication with the other peoples. And also we engage some local leaders, those who are leading the community peoples. So we found it's a very good tools for information dissemination and access to easy information. Thank you.
Thank you. Has that answered your question? Okay.
Saya Rohan dari Indonesia. Mengenai kasus-kasus yang dialami di wilayah kami di Cirebon, Jawa Barat, itu tidak sedikit wilayah kami menjadi buruh migran, dan cukup banyak permasalahan yang terjadi di sana. Salah satunya adalah buruh migran ilegal. Sebenarnya itu lebih dikarenakan bukan karena keinginan dia, melainkan karena minimnya informasi yang didapatkan oleh masyarakat terkait bagaimana menjadi buruh migran yang aman. Oleh karena itu di radio komunitas kami melakukan sosialisasi menggunakan iklan layanan masyarakat dan mengajak talk show dengan sejumlah NGO dan juga pemerintah setempat. Kalau di kita ada dinas tenaga kerja yang mengurusnya khusus tenaga kerjaan. Yang menjadi problem adalah ketika cukup banyak masyarakat yang tertahan di luar negeri karena masalah imigrasi, mereka tidak berangkat secara legal, mereka tidak mempunyai data yang cukup lengkap, sedangkan mereka juga tidak begitu nyaman untuk lapor ke pemerintah. Akhirnya tidak sedikit kasus-kasus tentang imigrasi atau buruh migran ilegal itu dilaporkan melalui radio komunitas. Karena di Indonesia masyarakat agak takut untuk lapor ke polisi, takut lapor ke pemerintah, sehingga mereka nyaman untuk melapor melalui radio komunitas. Kami melakukannya, pendampingannya melalui berjejaring dengan media-media mainstream. Jadi kita mengarahkan teman-teman untuk tidak anti terhadap media mainstream. Karena aturan di Indonesia sendiri, radio komunitas daya jangkau siarannya hanya dibatasi 2,5 km, sangat dekat sekali. Sedangkan untuk mendampingi kasus, menyuarakan kasus itu hingga ke pemerintah atau level pusat, memiliki daya jangkau yang cukup jauh. Oleh karena itu, setiap kita mendapatkan laporan dari masyarakat, teman-teman kita arahkan membuat berita, dimasukkan ke web atau ke media sosial, kemudian di-share kepada teman-teman jurnalis media mainstream untuk bersama-sama mengangkat kasus ini agar didengar. Alhamdulillah kita pernah memulangkan kasus di Abu Dhabi dan juga beberapa wilayah lainnya menggunakan gerakan yang seperti itu. Namun ini merupakan gerakan yang menurut saya kurang begitu greget karena kita tidak mempunyai kekuatan sampai ke luar negeri. Nah, yang ingin saya tanyakan, apabila kasus tersebut terjadi di wilayah narasumber semua, apa yang akan dilakukan? Radio komunitas menjadi lembaga yang dipercaya oleh masyarakat untuk mendampingi kasus. Tadi yang baru kita lakukan. Nah, apakah ada masukan dari narasumber untuk mendampingi kasus level luar negeri yang dilakukan oleh teman-teman di radio komunitas? Terima kasih.
Who would like to answer that? Rosado, can you answer that question?
I just want to tell that in Timor-Leste we have no more case like this. But what the community radio did there is we have a program that facilitating people to go out to work for another country. So we have a strong relationship with the local government, and then we get access more about the criteria, how to be the worker outside the country, which country they want to work for. So we also give more space for people who have worked outside the country to share their experience through our radio station. So I think it's really hard when the people planning to go out to the country for work, they get more information before. And then if they have something to be asked, they know with the short information that they should ask for. Thanks.
So I think first of all, we have to separate our approach on migration issues about migrant workers or migration issues about refugees and asylum seekers, because these two issues are very distinct, very separate. It requires separate approach on how you want to solve the problem. For myself, my expertise in migration issues for refugees and asylum seekers, which is a very sensitive issue, And it's not about just bilateral relations about one country to another. So it's not like it's easy for Indonesia to go to Afghanistan and told them, stop the war, stop your political turmoil or whatever conflicts you have there, so your Afghani people can stop trying to go to Australia through Indonesia. A different approach also have to be paying attention about migrant workers, because this is it is also a bilateral situations. For instance, maybe between Indonesia and Arab Saudi, because we have a lot of Indonesian migrant workers going there, and the fact that the radio community have the power to outreach to these migrant workers because they're too afraid to go to the authority. I think I have another questions. How does the radio community try to reach these migrant workers to the authorities, to the government? I have a background in international relations, and I have friends who work at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and they say one of the practical issue is the report came very late to their desk, so that the representative can have a quick response with these migrant worker issues.
I think Didi has brought up, a point that's very relevant, because there are those who migrate because they're fleeing a situation where they have no control, and those who go for work, whether it be migrant workers or whatever the case may be, and you have different set of challenges you sort of have to tackle along the way. But I think we all, I guess in our own way, try and inform as much as possible. Whatever information you have, you share. And it's a situation which will continue growing. I think. I don't know if we've answered your question, the gentleman at the back in Indonesia who's asked in Indonesian. Have we answered your question, sir? No response. Okay, I think we have. Okay. Please. Oh. Okay, you can ask and then it's. Thank you. Can you ask who the question is for, perhaps?
Well, my question is for everybody who has a similar experience to what we have in the Philippines. And I'm Michael. I work for the National Alliance of Urban Poor in the Philippines. And my question is not exactly about refugees, it's more about displacement. And just to give a bit of context, in the Philippines we have a lot of forced evictions, or this is also basically internal displacement. In the next 2 years, for example, in the Philippines, around 500,000 Filipinos will lose their homes, become homeless, or either be forced to live in the middle of nowhere in the worst types of public housing you can imagine. And in our case, for example, our community radios, we have 2 community radios, and both of them are based in the communities handling issues of evictions against people. I was wondering if any of the people on the panel have similar experiences of how community radios are used to address eviction issues with regards to the communities who are asserting their right to have a decent life in the areas they've settled in.
Okay, which one of you will answer that question? With the mic. Go ahead,
Thank you. Rohingya issue is a big issue in the world, and particularly in Bangladesh. And repatriation issue is very important. Repatriation issue, our government side and Myanmar sides also discuss these issues, how to set back the country. And other sides, one body, always try to negotiate to create an enabling environment to push back to Myanmar. So community radio always try to communicate this issue and advocacy with the INGOs, donors, also government part, and we'll disseminate the information regarding deportations issue. So I think and how to develop a temporary sustainable shelter for the Rohingyas community.
So community radio play a important role regarding these issues in our country. Thank you very much.
I think the question here is also, how do you keep it sustainable? You may have a plan, but how do you make sure you can implement it? And the people affected are then, you know, they have a solution to their situation. Is there a way you work on an actual effective plan, not just a plan on paper?
Right now, initially, when Rohingyas came in Bangladesh, initially government of Bangladesh built up temporary shelters. Right now, government policy to build up a sustainable house for the Rohingya communities, and also donor parts who agree to support the government for this purpose, so that it is going on.
Can we have some comments? Yes, the gentleman there had his hand up for a while. Okay, then another microphone. Yeah, okay. All right, you go on first. Yeah.
My name is Dave Kumar Sunwal. I'm from Nepal. I would like to take up the adhere to the comment made by previous question. In Nepal, we had internal war, obviously, for 10 years, from 1996 to 2006. There was a war. And obviously, many Nepalese, they applied for the refugee status in US, Canada, Australia. Obviously, some of them who applied out of that 20,000, maybe some of them are even Nepalese in Japan, I guess. Right after 2006, we had a stable political system in Nepal, but today, many local communities have been forcibly evicted in the name of development. Let me give you some of the example. In 2016, government has adopted a decade-long plan to generate electricity. So government actually applied the principles of eminent domain, which is a principles that the government can take up the private land for the public use. So government has called the foreigners or private entities to make investment in the hydropower generations. So later on, the World Bank, Asian Development Bank, Chinese companies, Indian companies, and foreigners have invested in the hydropower generations. And without any compensations, the local communities have lost their land and territories there, whether you have this sort of experience or not. Take example of in Kathmandu, the capital city of Nepal. If you go now, you can see a lot of construction taking place. A lot of, the road expansion is taking place everywhere. There is constructions. Hundreds and thousands of Newari indigenous communities have been forcibly evicted in the name of road expansions. The government has actually nationalized forest in the name of protected forest or the national parks. The government has evicted the local communities as such. So whether you have this sort of experience in the name of development, the local communities have been forcibly evicted or not, or let's say displaced or not, we have that sort of experience. This is my questions. Thank you.
You had that experience.
I think in Timor-Leste now, we are in the process of developing more infrastructure. So we have some case like about infection. I have some experience that I try to share with all of you. One of radio station that located at West Timor, enclave area. 5 years ago, he produced a lot of program to strengthen community, talk about the right of the land. before the government start to develop the area. And then at the time when the government come and then do the development process, they extend the roads, they build a lot of infrastructure, they take more of community lands without any compensation also. We make strong advocacy through community radio. And one time the leaders, local leaders there, they try to move their community radio station with the reason of have the new regulation because they have power to regulate that area. So we try to make more advocacy with the community radio station. We work with the community there. We make more discussion, meeting with the community, and then we bring the community voice to the local governments. And at the end, they understand the situation, so they permit the community radio to still exist until now. So I see that it's not easy because the community radio should also not become the part of against the government, but should be a part of giving space for the local government, the government and the community to sit down together to talk, to find out the solution. I think that's the main point that we should use when we find a case like that.
Okay, I think the gentleman has been waiting for a while. So.
Hello, I'm Devarun from India. And so what has been voiced out, and this is more a comment and not a question for the panel, is that it's a complex issue of migration, IDPs, refugees, and often the mandate of executing those policies are not with the local authorities most of the time. So as a local radio station, for example in our city where we have a radio station, engaging with internally displaced people, which is the largest in the country, we do face this problem because the policy is something which is a state level policy. So that also brings to my mind how and what national networks should be able to do. Because to be able to impact at a diplomatic, political level, at a national or a state level, I think smaller radio station will find it very difficult. Even national networks might require capacities to understand the policies, which therefore might, something that the radio station might be able to translate at a local level. So therefore my question would be more, or observation would be more for the national networks as to how, what kind of alliances are we planning to build on this issue, especially with specialized agencies like the UN Refugee Council or other research groups which are working specifically on this issue. Thank you.
So I think that perhaps Prasado and Tariq can answer that, being part of a larger organization. Do you have any thoughts on what he's just brought up? Tariq, please.
I think his observation is right because it's not a community issue, it's a national issue as well as international issue. So Bangladesh Community Radio Associations have a plan to build up a relationship and with government stakeholder, related government stakeholder, as well as there are many organizations, those who are working in migration sectors. So community radio link to the those organizations as well as government bodies. And I think migration is a big issue in the world, so that it's not a community radio, it's not only tools for the solve the problems, but community radio can build up a networking, national and local networking for betterment of the migration peoples, maybe.
Prasad, do you have any thoughts on that? Yeah, okay. Didi, maybe we can ask you, you know, in your line of work, how much, as working with JRS, how much did you think, or how often did you think of working with people in community radio, perhaps, and in furthering your cause and helping the refugees?
This thought just crossed my mind as all these questions and comments come up. In terms of Indonesia, and I'm not sure if I'm speaking for the context of the other countries, the topic of migration, let alone the two issues, migrant worker and asylum seekers and refugees, are an alien topics. Not very much people known about this topic or have any knowledge about this topic because of the complexity. So these issues are mainly taught between the academic scholars or the high-level politicians who works for the government, of course. But it affects people who are the local community themselves. So I think in terms of my experience with Jesuit, with JRS, I rarely hear any roles taken by the radio community to discuss or to bring up this topic to outreach to a bigger platform, or just to do like a discussions or do a program to talk about what is migration, what is migrant workers, what's the difference with asylum seekers and refugee. Because I found on my day-to-day work when I was on the field, if I assist in a refugee, for instance, and then there's a local sitting beside me, and they would just ask me, what is refugee? What is asylum seeker? What's the difference? Oh, do we have that migration issues? So this kind of dialogue, I have the capacity to, I can talk to one-on-one, but everyone around here has a bigger platform than me, because you have the radio, which can outreach a bigger audience. So you can deliver a bigger message. So yeah, if this network at the end, which is a very good questions, choose to focus on disseminating this about what is migration, what is the migration issues, I think it will help to bring higher awareness of what the community can do to help solving the problems.
So I think that's a very good point that she's brought up, that for all of us sitting here, I think there's more we can do as part of community radio producers to actually do more for that group of society, the migrants, because there's obviously a lot to be done, and how do you choose to prioritize? I shall leave that up to you, but can I have my last question from the gentleman over there, please?
Thank you very much. I'm Sunil Pant from Nepal again. I have two questions. One, I would like to direct to Indonesia and one to Bangladesh. First, to Indonesia, I'm going to be a rude guest because I'm not supposed to put up or bring up any complaint, but I must. There are, crackdown going on against LGBTI groups, particularly in Aceh area and some of the other where there's a strong religious fundamentalism within the Indonesia. So I even, before coming here, I was in Bali, I even met quite a few number of LGBTI displaced from Aceh and other areas who are facing a lot of persecution. So my question is what the community radios and others doing to help or protect or provide safety to these community members, and also holding accountable to those authorities who are cracking down LGBTI communities and causing quite a number of displacement, internal displacement within Indonesia. The second is to Bangladesh. I really commend the Bangladeshi government and people for welcoming so many Rohingya refugees, which is a really good thing, so commendable task. I salute you. But I must raise that last 2 years ago was also a huge crackdown going on in Bangladesh against LGBTI people. There's one particular gay blogger was killed by the religious fundamentalists in Bangladesh, and then some of the bars and areas were raided. So we have quite a few numbers of Bangladeshi, particularly gay men, flee and flown to Nepal and ask for asylum in Nepal. But the limbo is that Nepal, maybe South Asian regional policy or something, Nepal government refused to recognize them as a refugee. And they went to the United Nations office. The United Nations office, despite them facing such a prominent threat, if they go back to Bangladesh and the Nepal government refuses to recognize, the United Nations looked at them and then they said they don't ever have policy of recognizing a refugee on the ground of sexual orientation. So they don't look at how much threat they face, but they look at to the sexual orientation and then overlooking the threat the humans are facing in Bangladesh. So I don't know, because they have become a stateless in Nepal now. We can't do very much being an organization. Their government refused to recognize them. Bangladesh do not insure them for the protection if they return. And then there's no UN or third country willing to take as they are in Nepal now. So how do we help these stateless Bangladeshis, gay men who are stuck in Nepal for already many years? What is the role of the community radios and others? How can you advocate to your government so that there is a safe environment for them to return to Bangladesh? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I'm not sure if any of the members of the panel are prepared to answer that question. You are? You've got the experience? Okay.
Thank you very much for your question. Actually, LGBT issue in Bangladesh, so far I know since 95, so we are working with them. And Bandhu Social Welfare, Bandhu Social Welfare. And there are many activities in Bangladesh they are doing. And government of Bangladesh are very sensitized about this community. But some problems still we are facing among the community. But community radio in Bangladesh engage individuals individually LGBT people for program preparation, program development. But our community radio in Bangladesh focused on human rights issue and right-based issue, including all peoples in the city, in the nation, so that gradually we are overcome the situation in our country. And governments, people start invest lots of events regarding on this among the peoples. So hope community radio and others facilities of the nations LGBT will be gets in pictures. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone in the front here who would like to answer the question from Indonesia? You would? You have the mic, please.
Baik, terima kasih. Saya akan menjelaskan konteks isu LGBT di Indonesia. Pertama adalah isu ini naik saat ini berbarengan dengan naiknya menguatnya politik identitas. Jadi politik identitas yang berbasis agama di beberapa, baik itu yang agama apapun sekarang sedang menguat, sehingga kemudian ketika mengangkat isu LGBT lebih tinggi, maka kemudian sedang menghadap-hadapkan dengan politik identitas itu. Maka komuniti radio di Indonesia lebih memilih pada upaya-upaya pada pendekatan kemanusiaan, humanity. Karena ketika itu diangkat seperti yang dilakukan di Nepal misalnya, maka kemudian pertentangan itu sangat kuat. justru problem kami saat ini, barangkali kemarin sudah disampaikan oleh Kiai Muhaimin, menguatnya politik identitas, apalagi kita sekarang masuk dalam era-era pemilihan pemilu. Maka tantangan itu justru menjadi tantangan yang terberat, dan ketika diangkat sama berhadapan-hadapan dan kemudian diskusinya menjadi tidak menarik, bahkan kemudian kalau di Indonesia mengenal ada dua, bisa saya ceritakan, ada dua bencana, satu natural disaster dan social disaster. Dan social disaster di Indonesia pernah terjadi kasus yang pernah terangkat adalah pemicunya, walaupun itu bukan alasannya, adalah kasus agama. Maka kemudian radio komunitas memperkuat itu dengan pesan-pesan kemanusiaan di landasan negara kami. Sila kedua adalah kemanusiaan yang adil dan beradab. Saya kira pendekatan kemanusiaan, berbicara kemanusiaan, include di sana LGBT, difabel, kemudian masyarakat adat dan semua. Jadi lebih ke sana, tapi tidak berani pada spesifik isu karena tadi beberapa lokasi saya tidak bisa sebut, tapi ada beberapa lokasi, dan ketika itu disebut satu pengalaman, misalnya kami pernah menyelenggarakan satu diskusi di Solo, Jawa Tengah, diskusi dan kemudian dengan teman-teman yang LGBT. Maka kemudian satu kelompok ormas datang dan menutup diskusi itu, dan bukan hanya menutup, kemudian ada ancaman-ancaman kekerasan, dan itu kemudian kami lebih memilih menghindari dan berbicara pada tingkat kemanusiaan. Saya kira itu jawabannya. Pengalaman dari Indonesia. Terima kasih.
I think a very good analogy there between natural disasters and social disasters, as he kind of put it. I think we're all facing challenges. I mean, this is not going to be stop here. I think there's going to be lots of issues that we will keep facing as we move along. Very briefly then, can I ask each member of my panel to summarize very quickly in one line, in one sentence if you can, what does migration and community radio mean to you and your organization that you represent? So if I can start with the lady.
Thank you so much. Ladies first. I think, to me, migrations is such a complex issue, and radio community has such a potential to simplify that issue so it can outreach bigger audience, so more people can understand about this, and community can make more contributions in whatever roles they can. Because, for instance, in the context of asylum seekers and refugees, they have many limitations to access, educations, help, and many of these access nowadays have been provided to asylum seekers and refugees by the work of communities who support them. And I'm talking about local communities, because when we use the humanity approach, once they know there is people who need help, then lots of magical things can happen.
Community radio in Bangladesh from beginning is a focus area in migration and refugee issues. So we have a plan to strengthen our capacity and organize some more interventions regarding migration and migration-related issues like sub-migrations, rights of the workers, refugee, and also there are others benefits, basic benefits in health, education, and etc. So Bangladesh Community Radio Associations will organize a advocacy meeting with different policy advocacy and how to strengthen our refugee rights in future.
Timor-Leste Community Radio Association has started done a lot of programs that talk about the immigration issue since 2006. And then for me, the immigration issue is a part of human problem. So everyone has to know about that. It can be happen for everyone, to everyone. So community radio should be a voice to tell the people about the immigration issue.
Displaced persons and community radio, I think for coexistence, we need to know their background, their own country situations, their own life histories. We need to know the background, and the community media has a very strong point to telling that point. I think this is a community radio and the migration issues. Only one sentence.
Thank you very much. I think we've learned a lot in this session. We've thought about and talked about language, the issue of language, the challenges faced by language, the need to think about our younger community, our young people, about health issues, about educating the future generations. And I think all those are little ingredients that I think you will agree with me will create a community radio which is essentially resilient, will build resilient communities.
Thank you very much for the speech, for oral presentation. The next is giving a special gift to the speaker and the moderator of oral presentation from the committee to Mr. Taufik Isnanto, who will be giving the gift.
Thank you. All right.
Selanjutnya adalah pemberian kenang-kenangan kepada para presentator dari oral presentation dan kepada moderator.
May I speak now? Okay, so can we put our hands together for Prasado, Tariq, Didi, and Rosan? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You've been very cooperative. I kept to my time so that your tummies will be filled. Lunch is now at your disposal. Thank you.
I think a round of applause for Shima for conducting